She waited for her master to finish cultivation until she became the empress of a demon sect. In the midst of the night, a full moon cast its glow upon the sky, stars twinkling above. A lady, battered and weary, was in distress. It was none other than Bai Qinger from the flower group, accompanied by her younger sister, Bai Xiaohe. Bai Xiaohe, filled with worry, looked at Bai Qinger as blood trickled from her mouth. "Senior sister, are you all right?" she asked, tears welling up in her eyes. Bai Qinger assured her that she was fine, but emphasized the need to escape the looming disaster, surrounded as they were by the deadly assassins of the seductive women. One of the alluring assassins spoke up, her eyes glowing purple. "Thinking of running away after offending the Empress? You do well to turn yourselves in for such a grave mistake." Infuriated, Bai Xiaohe shouted back. "Grave mistake? What nonsense. We participated in your Wuji Sect ceremony and witnessed you worshipping someone with the ritual of heaven and earth." A flashback revealed Bai Xiaohe questioning their actions, expressing her fear that the person they worshipped might be consumed by the heavens and earth, drawing the attention of those around them. "Your Wuji sect treats human lives as worthless. It's clearly a demonic sect," Bai Xiaohe declared, her anger palpable. The purple-haired assassin retorted sharply, "You asked a question only out of curiosity? You should know that the person you are discussing is the Empress's master." Her gaze piercing, she continued, "That's right." With a stern voice, she recounted the tale of the legendary Demon Supreme. "He is not just the master of the Empress, but also the mentor of the Poison Supreme of the South and the bloodthirsty assassin of Guangxi City. Dare you suggest that the Demon Supreme will be swallowed by the heavens and earth?" Drawing her sword, the purple-haired assassin warned, "The Empress has been merciful by sparing your sect." She unsheathed her weapon further, adding, "In your next life, mind your own business and keep your mouth shut." With a swift leap into the air, she targeted Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger, the other assassins closing in from different directions. Quick on her feet, Bai Qinger shielded Bai Xiaohe, urging her to flee. "Run!" she cried. "I'll hold her off." But with the other assassins closing in, the sisters found themselves surrounded, dead, their escape seeming increasingly impossible in the face of the deadly assassins. As a massive thundercrack echoed through the air, a blinding flash of lightning struck the stone that Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger had used for cover. The impact sent them hurtling backward, along with the assassins who had been closing in on THM. Confusion filled the air as Bai Qinger questioned, "What's happening? Has the Earth Dragon turned o?" The alluring assassins regained their footing, readying themselves for whatever was to kill me. The purple-haired assassin gazed skyward, her eyes widening in shock at the sight before. A whirlwind began to form in the heavens, lightning and thunder crashing through the sky and striking the mountain rock. "What is this?" she exclaimed, watching as the waves crashed violently against the rocks. At the pinnacle of the mountain, a figure emerged, a man with an imposing aura surrounding him. His eyes, yellow and piercing, gazed down upon them from above. This was Yi Shen, the former head of the Xuanji sect. Yi Shen pondered silently, noting the lack of a breakthrough in his realm, despite a century of seclusion. Hovering in the air, he closed and opened his hands swiftly, a golden aura enveloping his arms. He realized that his physical body seemed sanctified, a sign of his potential immortality. Considering this a successful exit, he unleashed his power upon the world. As Yi Shen hovered above, the sea and sky churned aggressively, reacting to his immense power. The alluring assassins were stunned by the unfolding events, thrown upward by the sheer force of Yi Shen's presence. With a flick of his arms, lightning struck in every direction, hitting the assassins with precision. Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger huddled together, shielding each other from the onslaught. The assassins were sent flying by Yi Shen's force, the ground splitting apart beneath them. Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger could only watch in awe and fear as Yi Shen unleashed his power upon the field. One of the sexy assassins, bewildered by the chaos, questioned, "What are they doing?" before being carried away from the scene by the powerful currents. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the purple-haired assassin cursed, "Damn it! There's an expert protecting Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger." She knew she had to report this to the sect leader immediately, calling for a retreat. Yi Shen, feeling the strength of his powers and the vitality of his body, pondered his next move. Looking down, he was surprised to find two figures below, Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger. Shocked, he realized that in his flicks of power, he had inadvertently taken down someone on the mountain. The situation had escalated far beyond what anyone had expected, leaving the mountain trembling in the wake of Yi Shen's unleashed might. Shocked to realize there were people below, Yi Shen wondered if he had accidentally harmed anyone. Concern etched on his face. He observed Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger, noticing that they seemed injured. Without hesitation, he descended swiftly from the sky towards them. Bai Xiaohe pointed at Yi Shen, her expression filled with worry. That person is coming towards us. The force of Yi Shen's rapid descent created a shockwave, causing Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger to feel the impact as they braced themselves. In the chaos, Bai Xiaohe inadvertently grabbed onto Bai Qinger's ample bosom, both of them feeling the jolt of the landing. Meanwhile, in the distance, the mountain showed signs of breaking apart from the intense impact. Upon reaching them, Yi Shen asked with genuine concern, "Are you both okay?" Bai Xiaohe, still shaken from the shockwave, tried to explain to Yi Shen what had happened. Yi Shen nodded, understanding the situation. "So," he remarked, "Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger, you're telling me that you were being hunted down by the Wuji sect just for misspeaking?" He then reflected on the Wuji sect, finding the name quite pleasant. Comparing it to his own, Xuanji sect, he noted the domineering title of the Empress mentioned by Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger. However, Yi Shen firmly stated that no matter how powerful the Empress was, she had no right to arbitrarily kill someone for a mere misspoken word. He mentioned that if his disciple, Luan Yener, were here, she would never allow such an injustice to occur. Bai Xiaohe, brimming with enthusiasm, turned to Yi Shen and exclaimed, "Senior is undoubtedly an expert. Your disciple must be a person of noble character as well. Right, sister?" Her face lit up with admiration. However, Bai Qinger's expression was one of shock and fear. Sweat formed on her cheeks as she processed the implications of Yi Shen's words. Yi Shen, sensing their unease, reassured them, "All right, since you both seem to be fine, take care of yourselves." With that, he announced his departure, leaping into the air and soaring away with a golden aura surrounding him. Bai Xiaohe watched in awe, her smile wide. "Wow, an expert truly is an expert." He disappeared in an instant. Her excitement was palpable as she turned to her sister. "Will we become this powerful in the future, sister?" However, Bai Qinger's fear only deepened. Her legs gave way beneath her as she trembled uncontrollably. "Luan Yener," she muttered, her voice quivering with fear. Sweat soaked her body, making her clothes cling to her skin. Suddenly, the name struck Bai Xiaohe like a bolt of lightning. "Luan Yener," she echoed, her expression frozen in realization. Bai Qinger's words sank in, and Bai Xiaohe's heart raced with fear. "She's the Empress who's hunting us down." Bai Qinger's trembling voice confirmed their worst fears. In the distance, as Yi Shen flew away with his golden aura shimmering, he couldn't help but wonder about the fate of his beloved disciples. The weight of the situation hung heavy in the air, leaving Bai Xiaohe and Bai Qinger trembling with fear and uncertainty, their future now uncertain in the wake of this revelation. In the past, Yi Shen was addressed as master, but he snapped out of it. On the battlefield, a young girl called out to him as he sat upon the fallen body of an enemy, his sword piercing through. The girl asked, "Master, are you truly going to leave us and retreat into seclusion?" In the background, his followers awaited his response. Yi Shen reassured the girl, "Fear not. Your master has vanquished all the rebels. For the next 100 years, none shall dare to challenge my Xuanji sect easily," he chuckled, adding, "There is no need for everyone to be afraid." However, the girl interrupted, shouting, "No!" This surprised Yi Shen, and as she cried, she pleaded, "I don't want master to go." Yi Shen sternly replied, "Enough. I have expended all my skills so that all of you may live in peace in the future." Turning away, he added, "I cannot protect you forever, understood?" His followers then bowed before him as Yi Shen declared, Xuanji sect, heed my command. Henceforth, all disciples of our sect must quiet their hearts and dedicate themselves to honing their skills during my 100 years of seclusion. The young girl also knelt, and he concluded, restore the sect to its former glory. The scene shifted to the present, where Yi Shen soared through the sky towards the mountain, impressed as he held his chin. He remarked, in just 100 years, the spiritual vein of the sect's mountain has been revitalized. Quite intriguing. Yi Shen decided to descend and have a closer look. As he approached the sect's entrance, the people were shocked to see him. Some exclaimed, heavens, others said, eh? Or commented on his outfit, while a passerby urged him to hurry home. Yi Shen wandered around, marveling at the bustling market outside the sect. He mused, not bad at all. Reflecting on his decision to let his disciples train and gain experience, he remarked, indeed, it was the rig. His astonishment peaked when he came across a stall and found a nostalgic toy from his past. He exclaimed, these things are still popular. Remembering the days when they only sold items like the 1,000 miles killing talisman and body exploding pill, he picked one up and blushed, noting, seems like life is improving these days. However, his joy turned to shock as he examined the puppet, recognizing its familiar face. Yi Shen approached the merchant and inquired about the wooden puppet's origin. The merchant, sensing Yi Shen's reaction, hastily packed up and announced a temporary closure, pleading for mercy. In the background, the crowd murmured about a deity one must not encounter by raising their head 3 inches and quickly turning back. Yi Shen pondered this instruction, wondering what he might see if he followed it. Yi Shen's eyes widened as he beheld a towering statue, as grand as a mountain. He couldn't help but curse aloud. What is this? This statue is dressed exactly like me, and it's enormous. Inscribed on the statue were the words, Wuji Sect, prompting Yi Shen to question, but isn't this the Xuanji Sect? Thoughts raced through his mind about the Wuji Sect, recalling the woman from the flower group who claimed to be hunted by them. His cheeks flushed with sweat as he pondered. From a distance, a voice cried out, it's him! Yi Shen turned to see a person accusing him, saying, this thief deliberately dressed like the deity statue, spreading lies and stealing from stores. That's why everyone has closed their doors. Approaching him were multiple stunning assassins, accusing Yi Shen of being brazenly lawless. One of the beautiful assassins exclaimed, you dog, you deserve execution. Shocked by their accusations, Yi Shen retorted, how is it lawless to wear my own clothes? Furthermore, I want to ask about that massive statue over there. But his words were cut short by the interruption of a seductive assassin, demanding to take him down as they lunged with chains to ensnare him. Yi Shen protested, I haven't finished speaking yet. The alluring assassins displayed their skills, employing techniques like the solidified chaotic star and the 8 gates golden lock formation to capture Yi Shen. Breaking free instantly, Yi Shen exclaimed, hey, let me finish. The beautiful assassin was astonished, realizing that the golden lock formation, bestowed by Her Majesty, had been broken. She pondered that perhaps this person was. In a swift move, the sexy assassins changed their attire before Yi Shen's eyes, revealing white undergarments beneath their black clothes. Despite his attempts to cover his eyes, Yi Shen couldn't resist peeking at the transformation. As they finished changing, the assassins popped party poppers, welcoming Yi Shen to the Wuji Sect with bows. Utterly shocked, Yi Shen could hardly believe it. Assisted by one of the seductive assassins, Yi Shen was addressed as the creator of the Golden Lock Formation, Venerable Yi Shen. Agreeing, he was about to speak when another interrupted, urging him to follow to the star-gazing tower where their majesty awaited. They attempted to lead him, but Yi Shen questioned, Her Majesty? Who? Waiting for me? What is going on? The seductive assassin reassured him, saying all would become clear once they arrived. At the main hall of the star-gazing tower, Yi Shen encountered someone behind a curtain who asked in an ominous voice if he had broken the Golden Lock Formation. Yi Shen proudly declared, Yes, I am the Xuanji Sect leader, Yi Shen. I am here to inquire about why my sect. His words were interrupted as a lady swiftly emerged from the curtain, leaping towards him. She cried out with joy. After 100 years, I finally see Yi Shen. Master, Yan'er has missed you so much. As Yi Shen recalled Yan'er as the little girl who cried 100 years ago on the battlefield before he departed, he couldn't help but think, this silly little girl who only knew how to cry. Luan Yan'er. Trying to gather his thoughts, Yi Shen told Luan Yan'er, wait a second, let me speak first. However, Luan Yan'er hugged him tightly in joy, her alluring figure pressing against him. With a mischievous smile, Luan Yan'er declared, that won't do, as she held on to him. She had waited so painfully for Yi Shen's return, her eyes filled with excitement and desire. She continued, this time, no matter what you say, I will never let you go again. Her gaze filled with both lust and joy, she added boldly, even in death, we shall be buried together. In the main hall of the star-gazing tower, Yi Shen lay on the floor while Luan Yan'er sat on top of him. Yi Shen inquired, what's the matter with talking about death? Please, stop the nonsense, he said, asking Luan Yan'er to get off him first, as the atmosphere was filled with love. Drawing closer to Yi Shen, Luan Yan'er placed her hand on his chest and remarked, it's already this time. Are you still pretending not to know? She questioned, a hint of disappointment in her tone. Well, that's all right. The more you act like this, she continued, her eyes filled with desire as she lightly nibbled on Yi Shen's ear, the happier Yan'er will be. Luan Yan'er then demonstrated her skill, the dance of spiraling sky extreme, in front of Yi Shen, swiftly followed by another technique, the broken gate of 9 twirls. Recognizing the moves, Yi Shen thought to himself, this is the broken gate of 9 twirls. It was the last technique I taught Yan'er before my seclusion. He confirmed that she was indeed Yan'er. Yan'er informed him that over the years, she had mastered all the spells he had taught her. As his disciple, she had diligently followed his teachings, striving for progress, all leading to this moment when they would meet again, her eyes gleaming with pink lust. She then gently pulled Yi Shen closer with a piece of cloth, declaring, from today onwards, you and I can be together through life and death, as she teasingly played with his chest using her long, smooth feet while sitting on him. Standing up, she revealed a golden dagger strapped to her smooth thigh. Drawing the dagger, Luan Yan'er licked its edge seductively before pressing it against Yi Shen's cheek, causing a trickle of blood. With eyes filled with lust, she demanded, Master, you must make Yan'er a small promise. Aware that despite his excellence, his body was not invulnerable, she teasingly cut Yi Shen's pants, warning that if she cut off his legs, he wouldn't be able to go anywhere. She then aggressively threatened, don't be afraid. It will only hurt for a moment before eternal happiness. Moving to slash Yi Shen's right foot, her eyes suddenly shifted from lust to shock. What's happening? She exclaimed, puzzled by her inability to sever his foot. Determined, she prepared to strike again, claiming that the meteorite blade she wielded was exceptionally sharp, suggesting she hadn't used enough force. Yi Shen closed his eyes, remarking, this unwavering determination until the goal is achieved is truly Yan'er's style. He praised his diligent disciple, noting, how could I not make progress as her master? Using the destruction-style running web, Yi Shen restrained Luan Yan'er. Even after 100 years, a master is still a master, he said, his gaze filled with surprise as he looked at her. Luan Yan'er's dress was torn from Yi Shen's technique, yet she still called out to her master, asking, do you truly think that way? Yi Shen's nose bled profusely, like into a gushing water hose, as he thought to himself that Luan Yan'er was a thief. The power of the destruction style was overwhelming. Despite trying to avert his gaze and close his eyes, he couldn't help but sneak peeks at Luan Yan'er's body. He then suggested that Luan Yan'er go and change into clean clothes. Luan Yan'er, while changing, retorted to Yi Shen, accusing him of being a big liar. She remarked that her master was just pretending. After 100 years, the heart has not changed, she added, clearly disappointed. However, Yi Shen didn't utter a word about the promise between them, obviously having forgotten all about it, much to her dismay. Yi Shen was shocked by her words, suddenly recalling his forgotten promise. In a flashback to the past, in the mountains, Luan Yaner had shouted at Yi Shen, calling him a liar. She was just a child then, crying with her body covered in scratches and bruises, lamenting that he had assured her the formation wouldn't break apart. Yet she was still injured. Yi Shen attempted to comfort her, pulling her into a hug. Amidst tears, Luan Yaner exclaimed, "Yaner's face is all bruised up. How will she ever get married?" Nearby, a defeated dead bear lay. Yi Shen questioned, "Who said that?" He added, "In this world, strength is beauty. Yaner defeated the black bear demon at such a young age. How could she not be beautiful?" With a smile, he mentioned Jutan Xuanu, the goddess of war with the head of a woman and the body of a bird, who was not troubled by marriage. Yi Shen expressed his desire to be with Yaner forever. Luan Yaner was taken aback by Yi Shen's words, questioning, "Master wants to be with Yaner forever?" Recalling their pinky promise, Yi Shen assured her, "When has Master ever lied to Yaner?" He declared, "It's settled then. Yaner and Master, along with everyone from our sect, will always be together." In the present, Yi Shen hugged Luan Yaner tightly, causing her to blush. Yi Shen told her, "Yaner hasn't changed either. It was Master who returned too late." Tears welled up in Luan Yaner's eyes as she looked at Yi Shen, tightly hugging him again, calling him Master once more. She asked, "Why did you only come back now?" They then sat down and talked, Yi Shen realizing, "No wonder. So that's why you changed the sect's name. It was to avoid being hunted by the remnants of evil." He acknowledged, "Luan Yaner, you've worked so hard." Luan Yaner replied, "As long as Master is back, these are all trivial matters," resting her head on Yi Shen's shoulder. Luan Yaner looked at Yi Shen with a blush, asking, "By the way, now that you're back, does the promise between you and Yaner still stand?" Remembering what Yi Shen had said to her before, he replied, "Ah. It was the promise made at that time to be with everyone from our sect forever. Yaner is such a good child." Yi Shen reassured Luan Yaner not to worry, as he wouldn't break his promise, smiling warmly. Luan Yaner was shocked that Master had actually agreed to be with her forever. "Wasn't this a promise of marriage?" Yi Shen interrupted, saying, "Since we've kept our promise, the most important thing is—" Luan Yaner cut in eagerly, "Yes, yes. Don't worry, Master. I will immediately arrange for an auspicious day." Her thoughts raced with ideas of engagement and marriage. Meanwhile, Yi Shen pondered to himself about choosing a day. He supposed that was the right thing to do. A good day should be selected for everyone's gathering. Their minds were focused on different aspects of the promise. Yi Shen instructed Luan Yaner to handle the arrangements. Suddenly, a report interrupted their conversation, drawing their attention to the messenger. The seductive assassin informed them, "Your Majesty, the Manhwa team has reported. The heavenly book has awakened, and all the major sects have joined forces, heading to Tianshu City." Yi Shen thought to himself about Tianshu City. Could it be? Luan Yaner expressed frustration, calling them those little thieves. Yi Shen's shock was evident as he realized that before going into seclusion, he had forgotten to take care of this matter. In a command filled with anger, Luan Yaner declared that the heavenly book belonged to her sect. Now that Yi Shen had returned to the throne, the book would naturally respond. She demanded to bring the book to the mainland personally. Yi Shen intervened, telling her to wait, as Luan Yaner looked on from behind. With a nervous, sweaty face, Yi Shen tried to smile, assuring Luan Yaner that he would retrieve the book. In Tianshu City, a young boy sells newspapers, announcing that the 3-year period has begun and the battle for ownership of the heavenly book is underway once more. The Ting Chao sect has declared their participation, claiming they will emerge victorious. Can this century-old battle for the heavenly book finally conclude today? Turning to Yi Shen with a broad smile, the boy asked, "Sir, cultivator, would you like a copy of the Tianshu News?" Yi Shen glanced at the boy and politely declined, "No, thank you." Reflecting to himself, Yi Shen remembered that Tianshu City was once a forested city 100 years ago. As people conversed around him, one person speculated that the Tingchu sect would triumph this year, while another remarked, "Did you hear the sound of the wind?" Yi Shen observed the considerable changes in this place. Feeling a bit lost, he couldn't quite navigate the area. Then, Yi Shen noticed a paper crane in his pocket, speaking to him. With little Luan Yaner in charge, You won't have any trouble navigating around the mainland, it said in a computerized voice. Please turn right at the intersection. Yi Shen thought to himself. Fortunately, Luan Yaner created this paper spirit to guide me. He then addressed the paper crane. Yaner, you mentioned an attendant would hand it over to me, but I'm here to reclaim my own property. So shouldn't I need an attendant to pass it to me? The paper crane replied in its computerized voice. Okay, answering the master's question about the attendant. It went on to explain that during Yi Shen's seclusion, the heavenly book was temporarily stored in the city, leading to constant disputes among various families. At that time, the Xuanji sect was weak and unable to retrieve the heavenly book. Luan Yaner took advantage of this and promoted the wonders of the heavenly book to the world, sparking battles among cultivators worldwide. This not only diverted attention from targeting their sect, but also saw the recovery of the heavenly book from the evil forces fighting over it. Yi Shen remarked, So that's how it was. Using my property as bait. I see. What a carefully devised plan Luan Yaner has come up with. The paper crane chimed in. You have arrived at your destination. Your attendant is just ahead. You have one message. Yi Shen placed the paper crane on his finger and asked, Does Luan Yaner have something else to tell me? A smile played on his lips. Through the paper crane, Luan Yaner conveyed with affection, Master, there's no need to worry too much. This attendant is a secret agent from the Xuanji sect's era. Our sect's contact code remains unchanged, so rest assured. Yi Shen expressed his gratitude. Thank you for your caution. You have done well. The paper crane added, After you retrieve the heavenly book, you must return immediately. Do you understand? Its flaming eyes bore into Yi Shen, intensifying as it continued. Furthermore, you mustn't even glance at other girls while you are out. The flame in the paper crane's eyes grew more intense, and the crane itself began to burn as it exclaimed. The moment Luan Yaner thinks of this, she can't help but be furious. Yi Shen attempted to placate Luan Yaner, saying, This little one thinks too much. Luan Yaner retorted, and how could he possibly have any room left in his heart for that? As the paper crane disintegrated in flames, Yi Shen then heard someone loudly eating and looked in that direction, spotting a girl enjoying noodles with such gusto that she rested her bosom on the table, which seemed oversized. A banner on her back proclaimed, Fortune-telling doesn't come free. Thinking to himself that this noisy person must be his attendant, Yi Shen called for her attention, saying, Excuse me, may I ask for your name? Oh, it's the Great Master, she exclaimed, setting down her noodle bowl hastily and grabbing her banner. Introducing herself as Xiao Xiao Xiao, with a wink and a peace sign, she added, People call me Little Yantian. Her smile seemed mischievous, almost causing her bosom to pop out. She mentioned that she wasn't particularly talented, but she had some knowledge of divination, be it for marriage or peering into the future. Leaning in closer, she whispered to Yi Shen that she could also help locate lost items, like misplaced romantic debts, and she awaited his request. Yi Shen thought to himself, finding lost items? She must be referring to the heavenly book. She's definitely the attendant Yaner appointed, no doubt about it. Just to be safe, Yi Shen decided to utter the code, whispering to Little Yantian, The King of Heaven overpowers the Tiger of Earth. Little Yantian visibly sweated, muttering, You're 250? Now certain it was a match, Yi Shen nodded. Little Yantian instructed him, Go on, and don't meddle in my affairs. She thought to herself, Yi Shen is just a fool, and his good looks are in vain. Yi Shen found the code to be quite effective, a professional retreat in order to advance, testing Little Yantian again and again. He smiled at the interaction between them, and then said to her, If we weren't family, we wouldn't live under the same roof. You don't need to worry too much. This seemed to anger Little Yantian, who retorted sharply, Who's part of your family? And who are you calling an idiot? She slammed the table, causing her bosoms to jiggle, and added, If you're not right in the head, see a doctor. Interrupting her, Yi Shen held her shoulder and said confidently, I win. I truly am looking for a lost item. However, he still didn't disclose that the item he sought was the heavenly book, smiling as his eyes twinkled mischievously. Little Yantian started to sweat, her body trembling as she exclaimed, This feeling... She felt as though her body was on fire, her inner elixir stirring with years of loneliness. In her mind's eye, her clothes shredded away as fire engulfed her, the intensity of her feelings overwhelming her. She realized that the only one who could evoke such a reaction from her innate inner elixir was none other than Yi Shen, her destined dual cultivator. As Yi Shen looked at her nervously, noticing her distress, he wondered if he had used too much force in touching her. He resolved to treat Luan Yan'er's people with courtesy. Little Yantian grabbed Yi Shen's hands and exclaimed fervently, "Yes, yes, yes, the King of Heaven overpowers the Tiger of Earth, and I am the fool." She smiled excitedly, her eyes filled with lust as she confessed that she had been waiting for Yi Shen for a long time. "A lost item, you say? Then I will lead you to it," she declared, her desire evident. Thinking to herself that she couldn't let him slip away, little Yantian urged Yi Shen, "Let's not delay. Please, follow me." Yi Shen agreed, saying, "Lead the way." Meanwhile, someone hidden in the corner watched Yi Shen and little Yantian from afar, noting that the Empress had secretly commanded her to assist the person from the palace. They looked around, asking silently, "Where is he?" In the Tianshu conference, a fight was about to erupt in the arena, the crowd roaring in excitement. One person commented, "Oh no! Wei Tianheng, the leader of the Ting Chu sect. His strength is formidable." Another speculated, "Perhaps he will be the one to claim the heavenly book." A third replied, "It's hard to say." Yi Shen, sweating with nerves, asked little Yantian, "Why are there so many people here?" Little Yantian replied nonchalantly, "It's normal," as she looked ahead. Then, little Yantian pointed out, "Look, what you wanted to find is up on that stage, right?" Yi Shen followed her gaze to the stage, where the action was about to unfold. Little Yantian explained to Yi Shen that she had noticed his considerable power, and deduced that he must also be here for the heavenly book. It was rumored that whoever obtained the book would essentially control the mainland, a tempting prospect for daring young men seeking heroism. As powerful masters clashed on the stage, she added that for the book to awaken, besides good fortune, Yi Shen needed recognition from the lords of Tianshu City. This was the reason for the ongoing fights on the stage. In little Yantian's opinion, Yi Shen was no less capable than the sect leader of the Ting Chao sect. If Yi Shen wanted to obtain the heavenly book, she assured him that she could assist. Little Yantian attempted to entice Yi Shen by teasingly playing with her bra, revealing a hint of cleavage. She added suggestively that as long as he engaged in dual cultivation with her, suddenly, Yi Shen vanished, leaving little Yantian bewildered. "Where did he go?" she muttered, looking around in confusion. Little Yantian glanced upwards and asked, "Did something fly up there?" A person from the crowd, attempting to ogle little Yantian's bosom, was shocked by what he saw and exclaimed, "Look ahead," pointing towards something. The crowd's attention was drawn to Yi Shen as he ascended the stage, where the masters were engaged in combat. Little Yantian, shocked, shouted at Yi Shen, "What are you doing?" She realized that the fighters on the stage were none other than Wei Tianheng and City Lord Zhang Zisheng, both formidable figures whom they couldn't afford to offend. As Wei Tianheng and City Lord Zhang Zisheng halted their fight to gaze at Yi Shen making his way toward the heavenly book, Wei Tianheng immediately dashed towards him. Yi Shen, inwardly deciding to seize the book and leave before things escalated, muttered to himself about the need for a swift exit. Wei Tianheng, with fury in his eyes, shouted at Yi Shen, "Shameless brat, you dare try to take advantage of this fight and steal my treasure." His anger evident, he threatened to kill Yi Shen, his face contorted with rage as he prepared to strike. Little Yantian, witnessing the unfolding chaos, was both shocked and intrigued. She attempted to close her eyes to the impending violence but couldn't resist stealing glances, muttering, "Oh no," as the situation escalated on the stage. A century ago, following the downfall of the Xuanji sect, a civil war erupted in the Kanjuan continent. However, the Ting Chao sect, originally feeble, witnessed the sudden emergence of a genius. Mastering various skills and martial arts, he stood unrivaled in the world. This prodigy was none other than Wei Tianheng. "Out of my way," he shouted, his furious eyes ablaze with red intensity as he attacked. In the arena, a massive explosion occurred as the crowd watched in awe. Little Yanchan exclaimed, "Oh no, The fifth style of the punch of disintegration, Wei Tianhong must be truly furious, a person in the crowd remarked. That kid is too arrogant, another added. He's using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Don't you see? It's a warning to others. With a shocked expression, little Yanten muttered to herself, this is going to be trouble. Someone in the crowd mentioned, who would dare step onto the stage to vie for the heavenly book against Wei Tianhong? As little Yantian pondered, she realized that Wei Tianhong was incredibly narrow-minded. Yi Shen is in serious trouble now, she thought. I need to hurry and save him. Wei Tianhong, surprised, glanced at Yi Shen, who smiled amidst the swirling dust from the explosion. Is this the latest trend in greeting? Yi Shen quipped. Wei Tianhong wondered to himself, how did he block my strike? Where did he even come from? As the dust settled, City Lord Zhang Zishan cautioned Wei Tianhong. Don't blame me for not warning you about the kind of cultivator who would arrive unprepared for the fight over the heavenly book. Advising him to give it his all, Zhang warned of trouble otherwise. Wei Tianhong's face showed a mix of shock and anger before he grinned and exclaimed, You want me to go all out? Then, with a shout, he declared, The only thing I fear is the underworld. Charging his aura, his eyes now glowing blue, he cried out, I won't let you claim my soul. Employing his skills, Wei Tianhong unleashed the second style of the punch of disintegration and the astral chaos barrage. Blue aura scattered through the air from his attacks, yet Yi Shen deftly evaded them all. Laughing, Wei Tianhong praised, Impressive! You can even withstand the second style of my punch of disintegration. Youngster, you truly have potential. With a grin, he added, Let me show you something else, as he raised his right foot into the air, ready to strike. City Lord Zhang Zishan couldn't believe his eyes as he witnessed Wei Tianhong's advanced technique. What? Wei Tianhong has evolved his punch of disintegration again? He only relied on fist techniques before. They say 2 fists are no match for 4 hands, but who would have thought he'd use his legs as fists? An unprecedented solution to a lasting problem. Meanwhile, Yi Shen contemplated this situation. That's right. The Tianshu conference was originally akin to a martial arts gathering. He found himself airborne after a strike hit his stomach, his expression curious. Yi Shen wondered, should I follow the trends and adhere to the martial artist's path before claiming the heavenly book? It wouldn't hurt to enhance the image of my country. As Wei Tianhong conjured immense energy in his mouth and lungs beside him, Yi Shen braced for another attack. He managed to land on his feet after being sent flying, his expression neutral. That was a close one, he muttered, inspecting his shoes to ensure they were unscathed. Wei Tianhong wasn't finished yet. He unleashed the punch of disintegration's second style, extreme one-punch neck strike. Yi Shen found his face in the ground, pinned by Wei Tianhong. Since you still dare to stand on this stage, allow me to demonstrate one more style, Wei Tianhong declared, raising his right leg once more. I'll send you to your demise. With that, he executed the punch of disintegration's first style, never-ending stream. A massive aura erupted in the arena, and from the ensuing dust clouds, Wei Tianhong soared into the air, while Yi Shen lay buried in the arena, only his head and hair visible. Laughing triumphantly, Wei Tianhong declared success, believing none would disturb him further. He intended to resume the discussion on the heavenly book with City Lord Zhang Zishan. However, his plans were abruptly interrupted. Suddenly, Wei Tianhong was shocked to hear a voice saying, As long as you acknowledge my Tingxiao sect, City Lord Zhang Zishan urgently warned, Old Wei, behind you? Turning around, Wei Tianhong saw Yi Shen with a stream of aura emanating from his fist. Yet, Yi Shen merely smiled and flicked him on the forehead with a single finger. In a slow-motion scene of shock, Wei Tianhong's face aged 50 more years from the impact, tears and snot streaming from the pain. Then, with a whirlwind of power, and soared through the air like a bullet, crashing into the wall which crumbled upon impact. Yi Shen calmly thanked him for the guidance, a smile playing on his lips as he adjusted his arm guard. The crowd erupted in excitement and astonishment. What just happened? A flick of his finger to the forehead, and Wei Tianhong is down, exclaimed one. Who is this person? Does anyone know? Questioned another. He deserves recognition for claiming the heavenly book, added a voice from the crowd. Meanwhile, Wei Tianhong, bleeding profusely from his injuries, called out to Zhang Zisheng in anger and desperation. How long will you stand there? Don't forget what you wanted. But Zhang Zisheng remained unmoved, smiling as he addressed Wei Tianhong. Old Wei, are you finally admitting that your skills aren't up to par? Too difficult? Shocked and bleeding from his nose and mouth, Wei Tianhong stared as City Lord Zhang Zisheng continued. Not up to par. Repeatedly, Old Wei. The image of Zhang Zisheng stepping on Wei Tianhong formed in the air as he delivered the final blow. Do you still not understand, Wei Tianhong? It's because your skills aren't good enough that your loved ones were killed. Old Wei, bleeding from his mouth and with eyes bulging from the pressure, summoned the murky pearl swallow technique. Charging forward, his aura permeated the field with an intense presence. The one who isn't good enough is you, Zhang Zisheng, he bellowed, his voice echoing across the arena. The crowd stood in awe, gazing up at the darkening sky as Wei Tianhong's aura enveloped the arena. Dust swirled, obscuring the ground, while his energy pierced the clouds above. Is it going to rain? Murmured some. What a spectacle. He still wants to lay eyes on the heavenly book, exclaimed others. City Lord Zhang Zisheng called out to Old Wei, questioning his sanity as Wei approached with an overwhelming aura. Preparing himself, Zhang Zisheng activated his internal energy protection, a green aura forming around his body. Observing this, someone in the crowd exclaimed, "Look!" City Lord Zhang Zisheng is also deploying his technique. Is he really going to join the battle? The excitement among the spectators grew. The Tianshu conference this year is truly captivating. Zhang Zisheng shook his head, remarking, "Seems like it's too late," as Old Wei's aura engulfed the arena, leaving only a faint glimmer of Zhang Zisheng's own energy. As the spheres of Wei Tianhong's aura descended towards the crowd, confusion and curiosity spread among them. What are these? Some asked, while others commented on their beauty as they glowed like miniature moons. One of the balls of aura landed in the cleavage of a pretty girl in a red dress. Startled by the blinding light, she cried out as the crowd around her shouted to run. Explosions erupted from the energy balls, sending people scrambling in panic. What's happening? Someone yelled amidst the chaos. The pretty girl, her red dress nearly torn to shreds by the force of the explosions, sobbed as her straight hair curled from the intense heat. The scene was one of turmoil and astonishment as the unpredictable battle between Wei Tianhong and City Lord Zhang Zisheng unfolded, leaving the spectators in a mix of fear and wonder. Little Yanqin screamed in shock, trying to shield her hair and her nearly exposed breast with her bandage. Thoughts raced through her mind as she realized the true extent of Wei Tianhong's power. My God, she cried out, knowing that Wei Tianhong had triggered the murky pearls, causing a thunderous catastrophe. After just half an hour, an area of 100 miles can be completely scorched with this attack. Tears streamed down her face as she ran, muttering, "That brat, Yi Shen, is utterly doomed." Meanwhile, in the arena, Yi Shen's cheek and hands bore splatters of blood. Thunder push aside is a bit troublesome, he muttered, his aura crackling from both hands and his body. Electricity danced around parts of his head as he stood ready. Suddenly, Yi Shen and Wei Tianhong found themselves outside the arena. Wei Tianhong's right arm was bloody, and he grimaced in pain, trying to apply pressure to the wound. Don't you think so too? Yi Shen remarked, pushing aside the thunder as he brushed off his aura, causing sparks to fly into the ground. Wei Tianhong couldn't believe his eyes. What does he mean? Don't you think so too? This thunder is potent enough to peel off skin with a mere touch. He looked at Yi Shen, concerned about the burns on his sleeves. That's all. It's not too big of a problem, Yi Shen reassured him, his gaze fixed on the massive aura swirling in the air. Now, to eradicate the source. This is a perfect opportunity to test my physical prowess, Yi Shen thought to himself as he gathered his aura into his palm. However, before he could make a move, he was unexpectedly struck by the giant bosoms of little Yanqin. No, little Yanqin cried out in horror, tears welling in her eyes. She pleaded with Yi Shen not to die like this, her breasts threatening to engulf his face in their enormousness. Desperate to save him, little Yanqian embraced Yi Shen tightly with her ample chest, suffocating him in the process. "Are you all right?" she asked frantically. "Why are you trying to be a hero? You still need me to rescue you in the end." Yishen tried to reply, "No, that's not." But he was cut off by little Yantian's embrace tightening around him, her chest threatening to burst out of its bandage. As they struggled, lightning crackled ominously around them. Yishen couldn't help but wonder, what kind of rescue is this? A Buddha-like figure was speaking to little Yantian, calling her by the name Xiao Qiao Qiao in a deep voice. Little Yantian bowed down to the floor as the figure then told her, "Your time is up. If you still don't act, you should know the consequence." The face of the Buddha was shown, with red eyes staring at her intensely. In the arena, little Yantian shielded Yishen from a lightning strike with her giant breast, closing her eyes in anticipation of the incoming lightning. She whispered to herself that there was no time to waste. Retrieving a talisman from her cleavage, she thought, "If I miss out on this opportunity, I might not have another chance to succeed." Placing the talisman on Yishen's forehead, she instructed, "Don't move. This teleportation talisman can only be used once, and I only have 3 left. No matter how great the heavenly book is it really worth your life?" "You idiot!" She talked to Yishen as she placed another talisman on her own head. Suddenly, lightning struck the talisman, instantly burning it. Little Yantian exclaimed, "Oh no!" The talisman burnt out, and I can't leave. Nervously, she closed her eyes, sweating from the impending doom. Yishen crumpled the talisman on his head and grabbed little Yantian tightly beside him. Looking closely at her, Yishen remarked, "The idiot here is you." Little Yantian was shocked by his words. A massive lightning strike illuminated the scene, and old Wei Tianheng soared in the sky, surveying the arena filled with smoke and dust, while the crowd shouted in alarm. One person mentioned their leg was in pain, another screamed in agony, and yet another said they couldn't run away. Someone pleaded to be saved. Old Wei Tianheng smiled maniacally, laughing with his body covered in burnt marks from the intense lightning. He shouted and laughed triumphantly, declaring, "I have succeeded. I can control the heavens, and the heavenly book is mine for the taking. The ones who are inferior are you people." His eyes glowed red with madness. Suddenly, he was struck in the head by a small stone, and he looked towards the direction it came from. As the dust settled, Yishen remarked, "The Tingchao sect truly is powerful. Being able to summon thunder isn't something any ordinary person can do. But is this what you wanted?" He gazed at little Yantian lying on the ground. Yishen added, "Can you hear the cries within the thunder? People shout for help. Others cry like babies, and some scream in pain." Wei Tianheng hovered in the sky with his blue aura. "You are treating other people's lives as if they mean nothing. All for the heavenly book," Yishen stated, looking up at the sky. He questioned, "Is it worth it?" Wei Tianheng grinned in frustration as he watched Yishen alive. Enraged, old Wei Tianheng made hand gestures he had learned from the hidden village of Konoha. He declared, "The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit." Pointing at Yishen, he shouted, "I have no regrets." He then used the punch of disintegration style, 0 thunder control, lightning covering his body and concentrating on his fingertips. In a split second, Yishen delivered a powerful punch square to Wei Tianheng's face, instantly interrupting his casting. Wei Tianheng spat out a torrent of blood from the impact. "Okay then, I have the final say here," declared Yishen, asserting his ownership of the heavenly book. Taking hold of the book, Yishen watched as old Wei Tianheng flew away, clearly affected by Yishen's single punch. Activating the book, it illuminated in golden light. Yishen addressed it, saying, "Long time no see, old friend. Come and lend me a helping hand." With a smile, he employed the heavenly canvas deception skill, followed by the life and death amnesia skill. People in the area noticed that the thunder had ceased, and something miraculous was happening. A glowing green cross descended, healing their injuries. Excitedly, one person in the crowd exclaimed that their legs had been healed, while another mentioned their mother had awakened. Someone else stared in astonishment as their burnt arms began to heal on their own. They attributed these blessings to the power of the heavenly book. Amidst the amazement, one person remarked that Wei Tianheng had truly lost to this youngster and asked who Yishen was. Descending from the sky, holding the heavenly book, Yishen approached little Yantian. She lay on the ground, badly injured, her clothes shredded from the lightning attacks. Yishen was taken aback by her ample bosom and wondered to himself why this woman hadn't woken up. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, he muttered with a sweating face, "It's so big." Despite his initial thoughts, he knew now was not the time for such distractions. Saving people came first, especially for Yanna's sake. Remembering that the heart is on the left side of the chest, Yishen reached out to check for little Yantian's heartbeat. As he touched her enormous breast, little Yantian blushed. Yishen remarked that she really had no heartbeat, while little Yantian internally panicked, knowing her heart was on the right side. She thought to herself, "Oh God, this is too embarrassing," pretending to still be unconscious. Suddenly, she mustered the courage to stand up on stage and announce that she would save Yishen. However, to her embarrassment, it was she who had been saved instead. She decided to continue pretending to be unconscious. Yishen then lifted her into his arms, carrying her while she feigned death. He thought to himself that this situation wasn't good. He needed to find a secluded place to examine her more closely. Meanwhile, little Yantian, pretending to be dead, was internally shocked. She wondered why they needed a secluded place, thinking to herself with a mischievous grin, "Then we can dual cultivate while we're at it, right? It's a win-win situation for us." The dust settles, and while Yishen carries little Yantian and will look for a secluded place, the city Lord Zhang Zishang walks behind them and tells himself that he have never thought that it would be a youngster who would end up getting the heavenly book. He then calls for Yishen, calling him Sir Cultivator, and another person that seems looking like the city Lord Zhang Zishang calls for him, and rushing towards the Lord Zhang Zishang, the true city Lord Zhang Zishang, talks to the other look-alike of him saying, weren't he supposed to attend to the Empress people for him? Why did he just showed up now? And the person rips the mask off his face and said that he was just about to tell him, and he whispered to the city Lord Zhang Zishang, and he was shocked at what he have heard the city. Lord Zhang Zishang calls for Yishen, calling him nobleman. Please halt, and Yishen looks at him. The city Lord Zhang Zishang calls for Yishen, and catching his breath, the city Lord Zhang Zishang whispers to Yishen saying, "Are you above the 9 heavens and 10 abysses?" Invincible as a thunderbolt, the one who spans the 4 seas and sweeps across the 8 wastelands, Yishen then was shocked and became pale white. He was then told that he have the wrong person in his arms. And in a funny moment, the city Lord Zhang Zishang tells him that not to worry as his lips are sealed. And Yishen tells him no, you. And the city Lord Zhang Zishang interrupts him by dropping down on the floor as he bows to him and tells Yishen that he have respected his name, Senior. He is Yishen Jr. Zhang Zisheng. And Yishen was shocked and realized that the city Lord Zhang Zisheng is the son of Zhang Kong. Little Yantian tries to peek while she blushes, and Yishen still carrying her in her arms. In the courtyard of the Zhang mansion, Mr. Huichun announced, "I am here. Please follow me this way," as he led the way. On the path, he inquired about the condition of the injured little Yantian. The lady, feeling ashamed, responded that the doctors had tried everything, yet she still hadn't woken up. Mr. Huichun mentioned hearing that this female cultivator was a companion of the owner of the heavenly book. The lady confirmed, yes, at the conference, she protected the owner of the heavenly book with her life. That's how she got seriously injured by the Ting Chao sect. Our master is very anxious. He's in the parlor, awaiting your good news. She then invited him inside to take a look. Upon opening the door to the room, she was shocked to find it empty, asking, "Where did she go?" In another scene, little Yantian, gasping from exhaustion, hid while the lady panicked, telling Mr. Huichun to wait as she went to find her. While hiding, little Yantian muttered to herself. Even Yishen requested Mr. Huichun to come. Zhang Zisheng is truly being excessive. Thankfully, she had run away fast enough. Otherwise, she would have been exposed. She thought that if she pretended to be unconscious, Yishen would have taken care of her himself, allowing her to gather more information. However, he simply turned around and left with Zhang Zichong, leaving her puzzled. She pondered the idiom, "Love the fragrance and cherish the jade," meaning a man should treat a woman tenderly and with care. Little Yantian then retrieved a talisman from her cleavage, remarking, "I see. Plotting behind my back. Are you?" She wouldn't allow Yi Shen to do as he wished. Following the talisman as it flew toward Yi Shen, it stopped at the door and disintegrated. Satisfied, little Yantian stated, "Here it is. There is nothing my talisman can't do as long as I've stuck one on Yi Shen before. I will find him no matter where he runs." Positively, she posed seductively outside the door, leaning against it to listen to the conversation inside. Curious about the silence, she wet her middle finger, poking a hole in the door and enlarging it. Peeking inside, she was shocked by what she saw. Yi Shen holding Zhang Zicheng's chest, the latter looking satisfied from the touch. Yi Shen played with the brand on Zhang Zicheng's chest, realizing, the aura of this mark, there's no doubt about it. He really is Zhang Kong's son. Zhang Zicheng then explained to Yi Shen that this mark was imprinted on him as a symbol of his father's teachings and the Zhang family's inheritance. Addressing Yi Shen as senior, he asked if Yi Shen now believed in him. Yi Shen vividly remembered when his father went to war, remarking, "In just the blink of an eye, you have grown so much." Exhaling, he asked Zhang Zicheng to share his troubles. Zhang Zicheng expressed his fear that there might be something Yi Shen didn't know, his face turning serious as he recounted a story from 40 years ago. He shared a moment when his father was dying, calling him to his bedside to pass on the position of city lord. At that time, besides him and his father, there was another person in the room, the Poison Supreme. The Poison Supreme inquired if Zhang Zicheng was to be the next city lord, adding that he looked like someone with longevity. Zhang Zicheng knelt and humbly replied that he wouldn't dare. Tianshu City was built by the Poison Supreme, and he was merely a son stepping into his father's role as city lord. The Poison Supreme acknowledged his obedience, noting how fond Zhang Kong was of him. She then got to the point, saying that, in addition to taking care of the heavenly book, she wanted Zhang Zicheng to pass on a message. When the heavenly book recognized its master, he was to tell the owner of the book. The Poison Supreme, enthusiastic, insisted they bring the book and quickly come to Foodie Cave. With a happy expression, she revealed her face by removing her cloak hood, and 2 insects tried to emerge from her back. She expressed her wishes for her dear master, and added that Zhang Zicheng should keep it a secret from Luan Yaner, her senior sister, making a playful kissing face. Yi Shen felt disgust at what he heard, his nerves showing as he remarked, "The Poison Supreme you're talking about, could it be?" Zhang Zicheng confirmed, "Yes, that's right. She is Yi Shen's third disciple, Luoyan." His face grew serious as he explained that the Poison Supreme had long occupied the southern part of the mainland, becoming an overlord of the world. Inwardly, Yi Shen thought to himself that he knew it. His promising disciples were truly making names for themselves. Even the third disciple with the lowest talent had become significant. However, when he considered Foodie Cave, a place where gods resided or a site for cultivation, he wondered why his third disciple wanted him to go without Luan Yaner finding out, and why the need for secrecy. Yi Shen was then called by Zhang Zicheng, who addressed him as senior. Bowing down, Yi Shen asked little Zhang Zicheng what was troubling him. Zhang Zicheng explained that originally, the position of city lord wouldn't have been passed on to him so soon. After all, it had been his father's lifelong wish to welcome the owner of the heavenly book in person. He had diligently cultivated every day, never expecting to overexert himself one day. Tearfully facing the floor, he admitted that he knew he shouldn't trouble his senior with such trivial matters, but he begged Yi Shen for help. Yi Shen held Zhang Zicheng's head, saying, "Little Zhang, your father and I have a lifelong friendship. How could he just ignore that? Where is he now?" Zhang Zicheng cried, looking at Yi Shen, and explained that his father was currently in a deep sleep in the Kunlun Mountains, the longest mountain range in Asia, far away. He pleaded, "Please go to the place the Poison Supreme mentioned first." "Indeed, you are." Little Yantian overheard outside and finished Zhang Zicheng's sentence, adding, "Such a pervert." She was shocked, and her body jiggled from the revelation. She muttered to herself that she had completely misunderstood Yi Shen. Looking at him from a different angle through the peephole she made, she realized it was a lie that Zhang Zicheng needed to talk to him in secret. as Zhang Zisheng knelt in front of Yi Shen, and Yi Shen held his head, seemingly drawing Zhang Zicheng closer. Little Yantian added in her thoughts that it was just an excuse for them to engage in some intense activities. She believed they needed her out of the way for a private meeting. Enraged, little Yantian gripped her dress in frustration, tears welling up. Shouting outside the door, she exclaimed, "Are you kidding me?" Her anger made her breasts jiggle aggressively. Yi Shen and Zhang Zicheng were startled, looking in the direction of the noise. With fury in her glowing red eyes, little Yantian shouted at them, "Who the freak wants to share a sausage with a man? Don't even think about it." She threw a round object at them, causing a large explosion with a bang. Amidst the dust cloud, little Yantian smiled with a lustful intent. Yi Shen lay on the ground unconscious, and she gloated, stating that no matter how powerful Yi Shen was, a whiff of her specially crafted sleeping pill would render him defenseless. Excitedly, little Yantian closed in with excitement in her body, her eyes glowing red with lustful thoughts towards Yi Shen. She exclaimed, "Such a high-quality masculine man. Of course, I should have it all to myself." She laughed maniacally. Suddenly, the heavenly book rolled on the ground, opening up with a golden light. Little Yantian was shocked as she looked at it. Suddenly, 3 beautiful, sexy spirits with different breast sizes, small, medium, and large, appeared and tried to approach her. She was held by these 3 spirits, feeling intense pleasure. Her eyes rolled up in ecstasy, sweating profusely as she experienced overwhelming pleasure. Gasping, she muttered, "This is in the heavenly book." The book seemed to tie her up, making it hard to breathe. Shocked and questioning what was happening, she struggled against the book's bindings. Finally, the heavenly book released her, and she stood up. Little Yantian walked towards the unconscious Yi Shen, planning something wicked. In a dazed state, Yi Shen opened his eyes, greeted by a blurry vision of little Yantian's ample cleavage looming before him. He questioned amidst the haze, "What is this scent? Some sort of alcoholic elixir?" Surprised, Yi Shen felt the slippery, soft texture against his face as little Yantian's large breast pressed upon him. With a shock, he exclaimed to little Yantian, "What are you doing?" Little Yantian gazed back at him with a mix of lust and happiness, mounting him as he pondered the strange situation. Yi Shen, bewildered, seized little Yantian's face, gently pushing her down to assert dominance. "Stay back," he commanded. "Calm down." Recalling the events before he blacked out, Yi Shen remembered little Yantian hurling something at them. He realized that little Yantian had barged in, saying random things. Nothing seemed out of place then, so something must have occurred afterward. Once more, little Yantian embraced Yi Shen tightly, her ample bosom pressing against him. She then grabbed his neck, drawing close to smell him, her large breasts enveloping his arms. Seductively, she kissed his neck, leaving Yi Shen flustered and unable to speak. He managed to stammer, "Stop!" pinching little Yantian's cheeks. Yi Shen insisted, "That's enough!" Startled, little Yantian grabbed his wrist, gazing at his fingers before playfully licking them, attempting to nuzzle his hand like a cat. Yi Shen couldn't help but wonder if little Yantian wanted him to touch her, glancing at the open heavenly book nearby. He sighed in disappointment, realizing the book's influence. With a stern expression, he gently tapped little Yantian's nose, urging her to behave. However, little Yantian suddenly pounced on Yi Shen like an excited puppy, sticking out her tongue. Yi Shen resignedly thought to himself, the worst-case scenario is unfolding. The narrator revealed that Yi Shen privately referred to the heavenly book as the Little Dirty Book, containing many of his treasures accumulated over the years. To avoid discovery, Yi Shen had added a strict prohibition to the book, titled, "Do Not Indulge." Anyone besides Yi Shen who gazed upon the heavenly book would be instantly brainwashed into behaving like dogs. Little Yantian, now acting like a dog, barked at him, leaving Yi Shen bewildered at how this woman had been affected. To make matters more complicated, she happened to be one of Yana's people. Unable to sit idly by, Yi Shen sighed in exasperation, muttering, "How troublesome." He then proceeded to give little Yantian a firm slap as she continued to bark like a dog, positioning herself as if to be spanked in front of him. Addressing her, Yi Shen remarked that she was fortunate to have encountered him. He explained the prohibition, do not indulge, which transformed the soul of a dog into that of a human. Grabbing her from behind, Yi Shen placed his thumbs on little Yantian's spine, emphasizing that any attempt to forcefully break the spell with ordinary magic would only harm her soul, rendering her an idiot. With a touch that seemed both forceful and lustful, he pressed on her spine, causing her to bark in a mix of pain and arousal. Yi Shen clarified that only by extracting the dog's soul separately could she safely return to normal. As Yi Shen skillfully removed the dog's soul from her body, little Yantian barked frantically, tears streaming down her face. Gradually, her bark subsided into whimpers as the soul of the dog was extracted from her. Finally, little Yantian whimpered softly, tears in her eyes, murmuring, "Oh." Breathing a sigh of relief, Yi Shen thought to himself, "Phew, success." He then watched as little Yantian lay on the ground, exhausted and asleep, while he worked to heal her soul. Observing her peaceful slumber, Yi Shen noted to himself that no one else slept quite like her. Considering the hardships she had endured, he decided to bless her with good dreams through the heavenly book's influence. As little Yantian drooled and slept soundly on the floor, Yi Shen watched over her, ensuring her rest was undisturbed. Yi Shen decided that once little Yantian woke up, the curse should be entirely broken. As a token of gratitude for his help, Yi Shen expected her to keep his secret regarding the contents of the heavenly book. With a swift motion, he snatched the book up like Thor wielding his hammer. Recalling the earlier message from Lord City Zhang Zicheng about Luoyan, the poison supreme, Yi Shen pondered the advice to bring the book to the Foodie Cave. He reasoned that a trip to the Fusion Cave would be beneficial, deciding to depart quickly while both little Yantian and Lord City Zhang Zicheng were still asleep. This way, he could avoid the trouble of explaining his actions to them. Just as Yi Shen prepared to leave, little Yantian suddenly grabbed his coat, making him wonder if she was awake. Blushing, she called out for her master, catching Yi Shen's attention. In her dream, little Yantian spoke with a tender voice, pleading, "Please wait, Chow Chow will behave. I will protect you. Can we enjoy the lanterns together?" "Master, Chow Chow doesn't want to be alone." Tears streamed down her face as she dreamt. Moved by her words, Yi Shen gently wiped away her tears, sitting beside her with a sigh. He resolved to wait for her to awaken before departing. Later that day, Lord City Zhang Zicheng stirred from his sleep, puzzled about how he had dozed off. Confused, he wondered aloud about the whereabouts of Senior Yi Shen, completely forgetting the events that had transpired. In another setting, a woman then inquired of her attendant, "And what happened next?" She reclined on her bed as her attendants fanned her with large leaves. Turning to her servant, she asked, "Is this why the Supreme wasn't invited back?" The alluring servant, bowing deeply, replied, "When this humble servant hurried to the scene, the Supreme had already departed the city." The lady's advisor interjected, "Ridiculous. Her Majesty is the eldest disciple, and the Supreme holds her in high regard. How could he have left without bidding farewell? Could it be that you conspired with Yi Shen to deceive the Supreme into going elsewhere?" The assassin bowed even lower, touching her forehead to the floor. "That is not the case. This humble servant heard that a female cultivator risked her life to save the Supreme and fell into a coma." The advisor was taken aback by what the servant revealed about Yi Shen. The lady on the bed stretched her arms and remarked, "You're saying this merely to avoid punishment." The servant added, "The Supreme is now seeking medicine for that female cultivator and has taken her with him." The lady smiled knowingly. "Ah, so that's it. The master remains unchanged, fond of pitiful, weak, helpless girls." The servant was so shocked that her hair stood on end. She muttered to herself, "Her Majesty actually smiled." The noble lady then rose from her bed and instructed her attendants to fetch her new attire. "I will personally extend an invitation to the Supreme to return to the city," she declared. The servant, alarmed, cried out, "Your Majesty, you mustn't!" Her Majesty fixed her with a menacing gaze. Then, with a smile, she asked, "And why not? Are you now dictating my actions?" Her eyes twinkled mischievously as she continued, "Are you trying to tell me what to do?" The servant perspired, stammering, "Your Majesty, I humbly ask for forgiveness." "That's not what I meant. It's just that the current circumstances. Her Majesty sighed. I understand. The Blood River Elder has grown formidable in the life and death realm and is amassing forces in the north. I fear that ill intentions towards our sect may be hidden within his plans. Therefore, I cannot leave the city. She then called out, Come forth! General Xiachun of the Tia clan appeared before her, displaying her undergarments and toned physique. With a metal mask adorning her face, she declared, This general obeys your command, master. Her Majesty instructed, General, please bring back the Supreme in my stead. Additionally, I want you to spread a message. General Xiachun assured her, Fear not, Your Majesty. The Kanjuan continent is but a single domain. Where else could the Supreme have gone? In the Kanjuan forest, Yi Shen, with his heavenly book ablaze, glanced at little Yantian, who was asking where she was and what was happening in the forest. Why is this girl so bothersome? Yi Shen thought to himself. In order to shake her off, he resorted to using the hiding skill of the heavenly book. But why did she follow him here in the first place? That's not right. The scent is still lingering around here, little Yantian remarked. Wasn't this all settled after our parting? Is she still clinging like a dog? Yi Shen muttered to himself. Little Yantian then reached into her cleavage and retrieved something. There's nothing I can do about it, she said, revealing 2 talismans. Tossing them into the air, she declared. Although the pathfinding talisman is valuable, if it's used on you, it won't be a waste. Today, I will find you for sure. Is this still not over? Yi Shen thought as he burned the talismans from a distance. Little Yantian then looked at Yi Shen with a cheerful expression. Dear cultivator, she exclaimed, so, you were indeed here. Now you won't be able to find me anymore, Yi Shen thought to himself. But then again, it should be Luan Yanir who wants her to follow me closely. No matter the reason, I can't take her to the fusion cave with me. Forgive me? Little Yantian then asked Yi Shen, So, do you hate me? Yi Shen paused, listening to little Yantian's words. With a soft voice, little Yantian continued, Forgive me. I impulsively entered the arena during the Tianchu conference and caused you a lot of trouble, but I truly wanted to save you. No, in fact, I wanted to save you even if it meant my death. Yi Shen tried to meet little Yantian's gaze as she spoke. She began, but memories of the giant Buddha in the cave flooded her mind, causing her to tremble. My time is limited, she whispered, but I have one deeply cherished wish I want to fulfill before I die. I've tried many times, convinced that you are the only one who can help me. Holding onto her chest, she added, Even if you think poorly of me, laugh at my worthlessness, or disrespect me, I'll work for nothing. Laugh as you wish. But until you nod and agree to help me, I won't give up. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she pleaded, Please, please take me with you and help me. Just treat me like a pitiful dog. I'm willing to do anything. Yi Shen gazed at little Yantian, his expression filled with a mixture of resignation and compassion. With a sigh, he reached for his heavenly book and dispelled the invisibility spell. Seeing Yi Shen clearly for the first time, little Yantian whispered to herself, He showed up. This is wonderful. She wiped away her tears, her cheeks flushed with joy. Thank you so much, little Yantian said to Yi Shen, her voice filled with gratitude. I promise not to cause you any trouble. You like dogs, right? She attempted to mimic a playful puppy approaching its master. No need for the heavenly book. I can pretend, she exclaimed, a sense of relief washing over her. In her mind, she thought, This is good. However, Yi Shen remained silent. As little Yantian continued to speak to herself, she thought, He's willing to help me, and he seems happy about it. That's a good sign. She stuck out her tongue playfully, feeling a sense of hope. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierced her heart, and little Yantian let out a gasp of shock. Blood spilled from her mouth, tears streaming down her face as she collapsed to the ground. Yi Shen, taken aback, rushed to her side, his eyes wide with alarm. What happened? Yi Shen asked urgently, his voice filled with concern. Why did she start talking and then suddenly collapse? He gazed into the distance, noticing a dark cloud looming ominously in the sky. Is there something approaching? He wondered aloud, his senses on high alert as he knelt beside little Yantian, trying to stem the flow of blood from her wound. Why is it like this? Little Yantian murmured weakly, her eyes wide with confusion and pain. Yishen gazes into the distance, spotting a dark cloud forming. He murmurs, "Something is approaching." Suddenly, Luan Yaner, dressed in white, appears before him, addressing Yishen as Master. Startled, Yishen observes Luan Yaner's arrival. She questions him, "Master, why did you break your promise?" Moving closer, she continues, "Didn't you agree to return immediately after obtaining the heavenly book? How could you betray your word again?" Luan Yaner leans against Yishen's chest, expressing, "You could have at least written a letter to me. Am I not even worth a thought in your eyes?" Gently, Yishen holds her soft hands, responding, "It's not like that. It's not that I didn't want to return. It's just..." Luan Yaner interrupts, "You could have communicated with me. Do you truly consider me unworthy?" Touching Yishen's face, she waits for an answer. Yishen, his gaze turning fierce, asserts, "Yes, you are not worth my consideration." With anger in his eyes, he removes Luan Yaner's hands, exclaiming, "You are not Luan Yaner." Suddenly, she dissipates into the air. Yishen comments, "As expected, it was a temptress." Yishen explains that a temptress, a mid-level spirit in the Kanjuan continent, feeds on the agitated emotions of cultivators. They often disguise themselves using illusions, mimicking those close to their targets, waiting for the opportune moment to infiltrate their minds. These illusions persist until their targets are drained. Yishen notes that the woman likely fainted due to the temptress's tricks. However, he wonders why the temptress would reveal herself during the day, as they typically operate best at night. Furthermore, they usually lack physical forms in their illusions, yet one touched him. Yishen then notices little Yantian, the temptress spirit's multiple hands hovering over her. Seeing tears in little Yantian's eyes, Yishen exclaims, "Oh no!" Acting swiftly, he employs his skill, the golden light invisibility retreat, causing the temptress spirit to disperse. Observing little Yantian still sleeping, Yishen grows concerned. Despite forming a seal to ward off the temptress, she appears more distressed. Could she be on the brink of being completely consumed? In little Yantian's dream, she sings joyfully while playing with rocks, imagining candied haws bouncing around. She invites her siblings, calling out cheerfully, offering them candied haws. In her dream, they all sleep peacefully before a Buddha-like figure. However, she soon grows despondent, murmuring to herself, "It's useless. Forget it." With a heavy heart, she walks away, feeling the weight of loneliness. Little Yantian reflects on her life, feeling unwanted and hunted. She longs for an end to the endless cycle of escape and conflict. Amidst the rain, she encounters a lady who speaks cryptically. The explainable path is not the only path. She then invites little Yantian, "Come, my dear disciple," offering her wine in the rain. Little Yantian, observing the lady, inwardly curses, "Did I forget to kill one?" Aloud, she retorts to the lady's cryptic words, "What nonsense are you talking? I don't understand." The lady stands up, commanding little Yantian, "Stay there and listen. Allow me, your teacher, to explain." Little Yantian complies, holding a knife behind her back as the lady begins her explanation. "I am the great fortune teller from the Xuanji Sect. My Taoist title is Spirit Exorcist. Half a month ago, the heavens sent me a message to travel 100 miles west. By doing so, I would meet my destined disciple, which is you." Little Yantian smiles wryly, replying, "Then allow me to address you as master. You're willing to give me anything, right? For example, your life. Master, what a load of crap. I've encountered so many like you. You just want to use the term disciple to lure me into a trap, then dissect me in some elixir shop, extracting my heart to refine endless longevity elixirs. The moment you cultivators heard that my innate yin inner Dan is the perfect furnace, all sense of heavens and mortals etiquette flew out the window. I pleaded with you all." With that, little Yantian leaves the spirit exorcist sleeping in the rain, feeling drained. She murmurs to herself, "Why can't you just leave me alone?" Suddenly she realizes, "Oh no, I've depleted my cultivation. My inner Dan is consuming me. Could this be the end? I have no family, no friends. I haven't even tasted candied haws. Is this how it all ends? I've slain countless evildoers, true, but I had no choice. If there's a next life, please grant me a normal one." A hand, emanating a green aura, touches little Yantian's shoulder, startling her. The spirit exorcist tells her, "Why wait for your next life? You can do it now. All I have to do is transfer my energy to save you. Don't move." Tears streaming down her face, little Yanqin gazes at the spirit exorcist, who seems surprised. "Why are you crying?" she asks. Little Yanqin responds, "Can I really continue living?" The spirit exorcist assures her, "Not only can you live, but you can live well. So, relax. Master will protect you from now on, for eternity." However, in a sudden twist, the spirit exorcist departs, leaving little Yanqin alone. She calls out for her master, determined. "Don't be afraid this time. It's my turn to save you. All I need to do is find a person with the holy yang body, perform dual cultivation with him, and I can return all the longevity you've lost," she shouts for her master. Meanwhile, in the present, Yi Shen stands before little Yantian, silent and with a red aura. He declares, "The temptress is consuming her. She won't last much longer." With fury in his eyes, Yi Shen summons the seductive ladies from his heavenly book, determined to take care of the situation swiftly. Suddenly, multiple women emerge from the forest, approaching Yi Shen. Before him stand several temptresses resembling Luan Yener. One of them gazes at Yi Shen with a seductive laugh, licking her finger suggestively. They all attempt to seize Yi Shen, enveloping him with their bodies and ample bosoms, urging him to join in the fun. A temptress resembling Luan Yener coyly asks, "Would you prefer my front?" teasingly adjusting her dress. Another with the same likeness inquires, "Or are you more interested in my back? I can satisfy you either way," flaunting her sexy backside. They all laugh seductively, while in the distance, another temptress resembling Luan Yener remarks, "Very good, just continue to drown in my gentle illusions," watching Yi Shen and the illusions. Yi Shen remains silent for a moment before suddenly commanding, "Scram!" The temptresses are taken aback as Yi Shen pushes them away, causing the illusions to disperse in the wind. The real temptress remains, thrown to the ground. She then mischievously laughs, licking her lips, addressing Yi Shen as her precious dear master. She flaunts her feet and legs, commenting on Yi Shen's strength and agility, questioning his impatience and fondness for games. Despite her efforts, Yi Shen remains silent. The temptress kicks him, causing him to fall, and declares her intention to teach him a lesson. She emphasizes the dominance of women and instructs Yi Shen to submit. However, she is shocked when she feels a sudden burning sensation in her abdomen, interrupting her plans. Confused, she questions Yi Shen's actions as he holds her feet. Yi Shen reveals his knowledge of pleasure points, pressing hard on her foot with his thumb. Overwhelmed with pleasure, the temptress succumbs to the sensation, sweating and trembling. Yi Shen explains that the pleasure point is an acupuncture point capable of inducing such experiences. He suggests that she hasn't fully explored her physical form despite having cultivated it. The temptress screams in agony, trying to contain the intense sensation within herself. "Why?" Yi Shen remarks, "It's coming out, isn't it? Your true form?" The temptress pleads with him, begging him to release her. Reluctantly, Yi Shen lets go of her foot, causing her to drool in ecstasy. However, he continues to assail her, stating that they must escape from their human desires and focus on their objective. He explains that only by granting her more pleasure will her true form be revealed. Despite her attempts to scream, her body is overwhelmed with pleasure. Yi Shen admonishes her, warning of the potential victims if he were to release her. The temptress insists that she is truly Luan Yener, appealing to his sense of mercy. Yi Shen rebuffs her, silencing her protests. Yi Shen explains the mark on Luan Yener's forehead. It was left behind after she went through the marrow cleansing of the refining pond for the sake of protecting the sect. She scraped the poison off her bones for a whole month. Even I wouldn't be able to stand it. But Luan Yener never shed a single tear. Instead, she felt sorry for her junior sister. She secretly hid in a dark corner, blaming herself for not living up to expectations. She is so kind and serious. How could she seduce others for her own selfish desire? But you are just something driven by lust, a pitiful monster. Stealing others' memories, trampling on and ridiculing them. Does that make you feel superior? Idiot! With his aura charged, Yi Shen unleashes a powerful attack, causing the temptress to revert to her original grotesque form. She flees towards little Yantian, lamenting Yi Shen's stubbornness and vowing to find another host for her illusion. However, before she can reach little Yantian, she is swiftly cut in half by a sword. Yi Shen notices the scars on the legs of the sword's wielder, revealing General Xia Chun of the Tiehe clan. She confronts Yi Shen, remarking on the trouble she had in finding him. The legend has it that an immortal exiled to the west of the Kanjuan continent created a unique secret technique. Two cultivators swallow a mysterious stone in order to sacrifice their spiritual fetuses to the outside world. With the blessings of the blood-slaying formation, the two spiritual fetuses can freely communicate with each other. They can share not only their cultivation realms but also their experiences. The exiled immortal called this secret technique interlude psychic. The General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan looks at Yeshin, who says in shock, "You are Yaner." Xia Chun replies, "Master, you do still remember Yaner?" Yeshin responds, "Your spiritual fetus is a crimson product only seen once every 10,000 years. Even if I were burned to ashes, I would still recognize it." Xia Chun then says, "Master, why are you backing away? You had so much fun with the temptress. It's understandable that you forgot to return to the city, of course." Yeshin is shocked and asks, "You saw all that?" Xia Chun laughs and replies, "From start to finish, clear as day, Luan Yaner knows everything, whether it's master's praises or that you were finding medicine for that female cultivator. And that is why you haven't returned to the city in so long." Yeshin is silent and looks at Xia Chun, saying, "Wait, what are you talking about?" She replies, "Don't even think of lying your way out of this." Xia Chun sits in the grass, snuggling her bottom comfortably, and says, "So in other words, Master took this female cultivator with him, mistaking her for the undercover attendant I appointed in Tianshu City?" Yeshan confirms, "Yes," and he thinks to himself, "I really thought you left me a message telling me not to look at other women but sent a female cultivator to attend to me. Turns out I was wrong." Xia Chun looks at Yeshin and says, "So still playing dumb? Even if Master misunderstood, she still knew what she was doing. Why did she continue playing along and follow all this way?" Yeshin replied, "She indeed had a hidden motive. This little girl followed me because she wanted my help." General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan thinks to herself, "Little girl, so Master doesn't view her as a woman." Then she said to Yeshin, "What? Does she have enemies?" Yeshin replied, "I don't know what it is that I am supposed to help with, but when she was being eroded by the temptress, she once called out Master. I am guessing that has something to do with her sect." General Xia Chun said, Sure. Master is just a hero who likes to meddle in other people's affairs." Yeshin smiles at her and said, "Speaking of which, do you really think that you, Luan Yaner, don't meddle in other people's affairs?" General Xia Chun of the Taihei clan looked at Yeshin while he laughed and fell silent. She remembered herself when she was young, how people laughed at her while she was in chains, and Luan Yaner protected her from those people. Then she told Yeshin, "I can't be bothered to care." Standing up, she said, "Doesn't Master know? I, Luan Yaner," and she looked at Yeshin with lust as her eyes glowed red, "am now a supreme demon at whom everyone shouts, 'Killer and fighter!' Taking care of problems isn't as efficient as taking care of people." Yeshin replied, "Nonsense," shocking General Xia Chun. Yeshin said to her, "If it were really like that, then this little girl would have already died who knows how many times." General Xia Chun fell silent and was angry at Yeshin. Yeshin told her, "Master knows Luan Yaner is a good girl with kind intentions. You must have suffered a lot these past few years, right? Now that I am back, you are free to just be yourself. Even if the world collapses, Master will hold up the sky for you." General Xia Chun's eyes sparkled, and his words gave color to her world. She became silent and whispered, "Dummy." Confused, Yeshin was taken aback, and General Xia Chun said to him, "I said okay." She walked away, telling Yeshin, "With Master here, I won't have to worry about the little things of this world. Once Master has sorted out his affairs, he should hurry back to the city. There better not be a next time, or else I will really have your legs cut off," as she showed him her sword. Luan Yaner's influence left General Xia Chun's head, and suddenly her eyes opened in blue, and she became aggressive, looking at Yeshin and shouting, "Her Highness has forgiven you, but Xia Chun has not." Yeshin said to himself, "Ah, she changed back." General Xia Chun shouted, "Her Highness asked me to follow you. Before we get back to the city, I won't take my eyes off you," as she waved her sword and was angry at Yeshin. Yeshin said, "I see, I appreciate your effort," and thought to himself, "Why are there more and more people?" He said, "This little girl hasn't woken up yet. I will take a look." General Xia Chun jumped towards little Yantian and shouted, "No need." She looked at Yeshin and was on top of little Yantian, holding her arms up, and said, "I will handle it." "Honor Her Highness's decree. Don't touch other women." General Xia Chun smells something suspicious and listens intently to little Yantian's heartbeat. She then extends her fingernails and cuts open the top of little Yantian's clothing to reveal her cleavage. Yeshin is taken aback and interjects, "Wait!" General Xia Chun turns to Yeshin, questioning, "What now?" Yeshin, averting his gaze, responds, "I shouldn't observe when ladies are checking each other for injuries. I'll excuse myself and retreat into the forest." Internally, Yeshin reflects, "With her here, I don't need to worry about taking care of that little girl anymore. I can finally travel to Fudi Cave now." Suddenly, General Xia Chun's sword is hurled towards Yeshin's path. She commands, "If you find it impolite to watch, then simply close your eyes, sir. But do not leave my sight. This is a decree from Her Highness." Yeshin falls silent and complies with her orders. He thinks to himself, why is she so difficult? General Xia Chun calls out to Yeshin, prompting his attention. Yeshin responds, "I understand. So, how is that little girl now?" Internally, General Xia Chun scoffs, "Stupid man." To Yeshin she replies, "The temptress has penetrated her inner Dan and eroded her spiritual fetus. This is a challenging situation. I can only resort to a conservative approach for now. Let's try to wake her up." Yeshin listens silently as General Xia Chun explains. He ponders to himself, normally in such cases, the spiritual fetus needs to be extracted from the body and repaired using specific techniques. However, this typically results in some damage to the physical body. A conservative method. Yeshin then said to himself while peeking at them, "She took off her clothes." And General Xia Chun stares at Yeshin. Yeshin immediately looks away and was nervous as General Xia Chun reacted. And Yeshin hears General Xia Chun saying, while she examines little Yantian's body, "Oh, is it here? So tight. Relax a bit." Yeshin said to himself, "No, don't be curious." A few moments later, it was already nighttime and the full moon is up. General Xia Chun said, "That's about it. It looks like she'll wake up later. You, sir, can relax now." Yeshin is just patiently sitting, and he said nervously to General Xia Chun, "Oh, good work." General Xia Chun said to Yeshin, "You look tired. What's wrong?" Yeshin laughs and thinks to himself, "You're asking me what's wrong." Yeshin said, "The reason I am this tired. The temptress hurt her severely. I'm going to destroy their lair." General Xia Chun grabs Yeshin and said, "Don't worry, sir. Her Highness has already sent a team to deal with it." Yeshin said to General Xia Chun, "You've worked hard saving her. Allow me to treat you to some food." General Xia Chun replied, "Many thanks, but I have been fasting for the past 3 years. Yeshin said, "You're still not letting me go. Then there must be elixirs growing in this beautiful place. How about I go pick some to replenish your energy?" General Xia Chun gets angry and replied, "I have no fear, no hunger, no fatigue, sir. All you need to do is stay put." Yeshin said, "Actually, I want to create a golden crab." General Xia Chun tossed Yeshin a wooden plank and said, "Go ahead," and Yeshin was shocked. Yeshin said to himself, "I already used the excuse of creating gold crap. I still can't escape. Although I like dogs, this type isn't cute at all." Yeshin said to General Xia Chun, "Never mind." General Xia Chun just looks at Yeshin in silence. General Xia Chun said, "The female cultivator's vitality was severely damaged, and that recovery method was only temporary. Elixirs will be needed to nourish her later. Since it's already late, now's not the time to go looking for them." General Xia Chun stretches her body and said, "After all that work, I am indeed a little tired. How about we rest here? We can search for the elixir when the sun rises. What do you think?" Yeshin had something on his mind, and an opportunity arises, and said while he thinks of a good plan, "Sure." Yeshin taps the neck of General Xia Chun and said, "You can rest. I will both protect you." General Xia Chun looks at Yeshin and said, "Sir, you..." And she instantly went to sleep and fell to the ground. Yeshin said to her, "Sorry, I pressed down on your sleeping point. May you rest well." Yeshin looks at them and said, slipping away. A few moments later, as the breeze passed through General Xia Chun and little Yantian, General Xia Chun opens her eyes, and little Yantian opens her eyes as well and tries to peek at General Xia Chun. Luan Yana said, while she brushed her hair, "Xiao Chun master is soft-hearted. He pities the weak and helps the young. I do believe that, but this time I feel like he's hiding something from me. But don't follow him too closely. Leave a little room. See if he's really just helping out." Xiao Chun thought of the things that Yi Shen did during the time they were together. Xiao Chun, while little Yantian was acting asleep, said to herself, Heavens, that silver hair and animal ears, no doubt about it. She is Xia Chun, that military general working for the Empress. The way she's standing, she's definitely going to chase him. Suddenly, Xiao Chun prepared to move, and little Yantian shouted at her, saying, "Wait!" Suddenly, little Yantian noticed something and grabbed her clothes as they nearly fell, saying, "My clothes! Why are they torn? My inner Dan area is a bit sore. Could it be that during that time when I lost consciousness?" Xiao Chun said to her, "Hey, you were bewitched by a temptress. Your inner Dan is unstable right now. Don't move," little Yanshan shouted. "Temptress? Wait, those images did indeed appear in my head. Those shameless images. Who is that female dog? After all my planning, I completely miscalculated the chance of being controlled by a temptress. I have never been so rude to anyone before. Wait, the reason I'm safe right now is because that cultivator helped me? After all that, only now do I feel shy. Oops, it seems that I'm still attractive. Of course, that's definitely the case." Xiao Chun got annoyed at little Yantian and said to her, "Just stay here." Little Yantian asked, "General, are you going to find him? Let me come with you. I have to thank him for risking his life to save mine. This is kindness. I can only thank him with my body." Suddenly, Xiao Chun grabbed the face of little Yantian as her heart beat loud. Xiao Chun said to little Yantian, "I never thought that this little girl would value friendship so much." Little Yantian asked, "General, what are you saying? Only a person of lower class would not repay their gratitude." And she swept away Xiao Chun's hands. Xiao Chun said, "What an interesting sentence. Come on then, repay me with your body. After all, I am your savior." Little Yantian was shocked and said, "What could it be? Mirror morphing secret technique." Little Yantian shouted, "How could this happen?" And she wailed in disbelief. Xiao Chun grabbed her sword and said, "Okay, you are not to stand against the Supreme Empress. The one who wants him is Her Highness. You are but one among the million stars. How could you compete against the bright moon?" And Xiao Chun cast a binding spell at little Yantian. She said, "Just stay here. This formation will protect you." Xiao Chun jumped away and added, "Stop your wishful thinking." Little Yantian went silent. Xiao Chun ran quickly in the forest and thought to herself, "Why does Her Highness want him and no one else?" Xiao Chun remembered her time together with Luan Yanner. She got frustrated and said, "Yanner." Xiao Chun was about to cry and said, "Why?" Suddenly a voice said, "General." At her back was little Yantian catching up to her. Xiao Chun said to little Yantian, "I told you to stay put." She said to herself, "My ground formation couldn't trap her." Little Yantian smiled and said, "I have my ways." "Don't worry, General." Xiao Chun said to herself, "I underestimated her. I need to use a more powerful move." Little Yantian said, "General, you have misunderstood. I don't like him. How shameless." And little Yantian laughed. In another scene, Yi Shen finally landed on the ground and said while looking at a cave, "I am finally here." And Yi Shen stood in front of the foodie cave. A flashback shows Luo Luo calling for her master and saying, "Look, I dug something up from the ground." Yi Shen said, "A spiritual centipede. These creatures only appear in locations with abundant spiritual energy." "Luo Luo, it looks like we've come to the right place." Luo Luo smiled and laughed as she held the giant centipede. She said to Yi Shen, "But master, why do we need to find a place to grow elixirs? Shouldn't a cultivator just sit and practice meditation from dusk until dawn?" Yi Shen replied, "That's correct. But does Luo Luo remember why master founded the Xuanji sect?" Luo Luo responded, "In troubled times, looking for paradise makes even the poor hopeful." Yi Shen said, "That's right. This is what I want with all my heart. But just having great supernatural powers is not enough to achieve this. True power should be beneficial to the world. Today, Luo Luo and I found the ideal place for farming elixirs, which may help more people in the future." Luo Luo said, "Luo Luo likes master and also what master wants to do. Don't worry, master. Luo Luo will turn this place into the paradise of master's dreams." Yi Shen laughed and said, "Okay, let's make use of Luo Luo's blessing and name this place." In the present, Yi Shen stood in front of the foodie cave. The Chinese characters used to write, "Foodie" have the meaning of blessing. Yi Shen said, "So nostalgic," as he looked into the cave. Luo Luo has now become a woman who's made a name for herself. What was that saying again? Women change when they come of age? Suddenly Yi Shen noticed someone sneaking up on him. The two girls that pretended to be asleep are probably chasing my fake body by now, right? I should thank that dog general. for exposing her flaws. That was the only way I could smoothly steer my boat and avoid the tigers. Eh? Wait, it's not right to trick people. I'll settle this matter first and then make amends with them. They shouldn't catch up to my fake body so soon. Meanwhile, little Yantian grabs General Xia-chun's arm, smothering her face in her chest as they hide and sneak away from Yishen's fake body. General Xia-chun blushes and whispers, "What are you doing?" Little Yantian covers her mouth and whispers, "General, please don't make a sound!" If this causes him psychological trauma, he won't be able to lift his head. General Xia-chun, angry, whispers back, "Are you just going to let him be then?" It's such a waste that Her Highness thinks of him as a gentleman. Little Yantian replies, "I understand how you feel." Under Her Highness' moonlight, he is going as far as to express his desires to a tree. As Yishen's fake body bumps into a tree, seemingly humping it, little Yantian whispers, "But if you look closely," he looks experienced. Even the speed varies. He sure is a master. General Xia-chun, infuriated, whispers, "What are you saying?" No wonder he tried every possible means to leave. It was to relieve his burning desire. "I cannot report this to Her Highness. It will dirty her ears." Suddenly, General Xia-chun notices little Yantian gently taking off her dress. Shocked, she grabs little Yantian from behind, trying to stop her as little Yantian's chest almost pops out of her dress. Little Yantian whispers, "As everyone says, I'll go to hell either way. Just let me extinguish that strong evil desire." "No need to thank me." General Xia-chun, angrier than ever, whispers, "Shut up, you shameless disciple." Inside the foodie cave, Yishen sneezes hard, shivering. He looks back and says, "Who's thinking of me?" Looking forward, he asks, "Wind spirit?" Remembering Luo, he adds, "Right. Wind spirits only appear in places where spiritual energy is abundant. Luo has done a great job maintaining this place." This little girl loves taking credit. The reason she wanted me to rush here must be because of the peach blossom spring. She deliberately didn't tell Yana and just wanted me to come praise her alone. Great. Allow me to see this paradise. At the end of the cave, a giant centipede prepares to attack Yishen. Confused, he says, "Where's the promised paradise?" The centipede screams at him, and with killing intent, Yishen immediately cuts it in half with his hands. He says, "You won." Raising his fist, he slams the ground, shattering the floor and dropping down. Had enough? Suddenly, he sees the giant spirit of Luo. "Luo," he exclaims. Luo opens her eyes, excitedly saying, "Master, long time no see. What do you think? Did Luo scare you?" Yishen replies, "The monsters inside this cave were all illusions created by you, right? Luo, you've honed your skills." Luo responds, "Master, you noticed. This isn't our first meeting. It's been so long. Will you still not allow me to joke around?" Yishen laughs. "Of course Master is listening to you. I almost forgot that Luo loves being praised and playing pranks." Luo presses Yishen to her cheeks. As expected of Master, the person who understands Luo the best. Yishen smiles. "You little, fine, spill it. What are you up to that you're even hiding from your senior sister? Even having your soul leave your body to tell me." Luo suddenly goes silent, looking at Yishen seriously. Embarrassed, she says, "Actually, my soul hasn't left my body. It's just, my soul is all that's left. I, Luo, have died." Yishen asked Luo, "Who?" He got angry and said, "Who did this to you?" Luo responded, "Please calm down, Master. Actually, I set this up for myself. That's enough talk. You can have a look with your own eyes, Master." She showed Yishen and pointed her fingers at his temple. In the vision, Luo said, "For the 100 years you've been secluded, countless scoundrels and bandits have laid their eyes on our sect. Once again, our sect was in danger of being wiped out. Fortunately, senior sister and I remembered your teachings well. Step by step, honing our skills, we were able to survive that crisis without any losses. After we slaughtered their leaders, senior sister had to change the name of the sect. Only then were we able to catch our breath. Even so, 10 years later, Luan Yaner shouted, Luo, all those pests who displayed irreverence to our sect have been wiped out. With your senior sister in power, all we have to do is wait for Master's return. So why must you leave?" Luo stopped and was silent. She then said, "Because you're being too overbearing. No sugar, no staying up overnight, and not even allowed to go down to the fields." At this rate, we might as well be an old married couple, Luo mocked Luanyana. Luanyana retorted, Why you? Luo suddenly took Luanyana's hands and said, It's fine, senior sister. The responsibility of looking after the sect is not yours alone. I don't want to worry you. Luanyana said, Luo. Luo replied, Once you're old and scraggly, I'll probably become master's favorite when I return. Would you like that to happen? Luanyana chased after Luo and said, Big words for a little pest who knows nothing but eating. Stay here, you. Luo ran faster and said, Hey, you can't catch me. To herself, she said, Forgive me, senior sister. The great fortune teller revealed to me that from master's seclusion and up to our sect being targeted onwards, someone planned it all out. If you were to find out, you would have dedicated everything to wiping out our enemies, right? I don't want to see you looking like that again, senior sister. Oh, master, I'm sure you'd understand, right? Luo tried to fight the huge shadow resembling a Buddha by herself. She said, We, in these turbulent times. The Buddha attacked her, splitting her body in half. Luo said, We're the only family we've had. In the present, Luo said to Yishen, After that bloody battle, I took the phoenix toxin and escaped with the spiritual fetus. I then set up a decoy and had Tianshu City built. With that, I had Jiankong wait for you to be born. Surely senior sister still thinks I'm alive? Truth to be told, I wouldn't be able to hold the spiritual fetus for 3 or 5 more years. It's a good thing, master, that you are here. Yishen said to Luo, You did great, Luo. Your master understands. Do not worry, I will have a new vessel sculpted with a strong foundation for you. Yes, using the core of our mastermind here, Luo replied. Master's the best, but this is going to be more difficult than you'd think. While I'm here with nothing but a spiritual fetus, I'm still a cultivator in the life and death realm, Yishen asked. Life and death realm? To himself. He said, Luo's level of cultivation has surpassed mine. In the continent of Kanjuan, the path of cultivation is split into 6 realms and 9 tribulations. Gathering realm to solidifying realm to foundation realm to nascent divinity realm to sculpting divinity realm, and lastly, the life and death realm. Within the life and death realm, surpassing each tribulation is equal to the progress gained, going from the gathering realm to the life and death realm itself. Last time I fought Yanner, she was already standing at the sculpting divinity realm. While my body is sanctified, it all comes down to the matter of my cultivation. I am merely standing at the peak of the sculpting divinity realm, but there's an opponent that even Luo, who is at the life and death realm, was unable to beat? How strong are our enemies? Luo said, When I fought that twisted bodhisattva, its level probably stood somewhere in the 4th tribulation. Even after escaping as a spiritual fetus, I should be able to reforge my body as soon as I can. But I've tried countless methods, with no results. Yishen silently listened to Luo. Luo said, Now that you're out of seclusion, how is master doing? Yishen replied, You think I'd lose? To himself, he thought. While it's true I haven't made any progress with breaking out of this realm, with my sanctified body, I should be able to stand up to a 4th tribulation. Luo said, I knew you'd try to fight them head on. However, victory by an inch is still a loss. If you're going to win, you come back with an overwhelming victory. Am I right? Yishen said. I see Luo knows me well. Luo drooled and a ball of spirit emerged from her tongue. Yishen looked at it and said, That's. Luo continued, That's the reason why I've remained here. This ice silkworm is a dried dan I've made using priceless ingredients I've gathered throughout. If you make a breakthrough after taking that, it'll be a major boost to your chances of winning. Yishen went silent again. He then said, Is that another lie I'm hearing, Luo? Luo responded, Hey, Yishen said, With such a marvelous pill, Luo, why didn't you use it for yourself? Even as a mere spiritual fetus, making a breakthrough with that would greatly increase your chances of reforging your own body. Not to mention, these so-called priceless ingredients are no different from the ones I've seen 100 years ago, and they have no such effect. Luo, this ice silkworm of yours was made with your own spiritual fetus. Luo smiled gently and then laughed maniacally, laughing harder while Yishen looked at her seriously. Luo wiped her tears of joy and said, As expected from master. Luo lost this time. Yishen walked away and said, Be good and wait here. Don't worry about the breakthrough. Your master will be back shortly. Suddenly, Luo put her hands through Yishen and said, I've found an opening. Caught you, master. Her spiritual energy transferred to Yi Shen. He shouted, "Luo Luo! That's your own spiritual fetus. Take it back." Luo silently whispered to Yi Shen, "Master, say hello to senior sister from me," as she gently faded away. You two have always been the dearest to Luo Luo. The foodie cave suddenly crumbled while Yi Shen looked at his hands and silently thought. He looked at the seed of Luo Luo and said, "So you've been holding this foodie cave together all by yourself. I did say I wanted to borrow your luck, but I never asked you to force yourself to hold on like this." "You fool!" He knelt to the ground and charged his powerful aura. Looking at the tree, he said, "Forgive me, Luo Luo. Your master will have to go back on his words again. You can go greet your senior sister yourself." He said to himself, "The heavenly book can nurture souls. If I keep Luo Luo inside the book, her soul will not scatter. I suppose this will do for now. I know you've always been fond of traveling, right, Luo Luo? Why don't we go on a stroll?" His aura became black as night, and he said, "I'd like to pay a visit to our mastermind here." Outside, the ground shook as little Yan Tian and General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan felt the shaking, their bodies wiggling. Little Yan Tian exclaimed, "What? What's going on now?" Suddenly, the decoy of Yi Shen fell to the ground. General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan said, "A decoy? I'm sure I got his scent down, so when did he?" General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan suddenly heard something with her cat ears and said, "A surge of energy from that direction. Someone made a breakthrough. It's a significant level." Suddenly, little Yantian moaned and General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan looked at her. Little Yantian sat on the ground and General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan asked, "What's wrong?" Little Yantian said, "At ease." She said to herself, "There's no mistaking it. My core will only react like this when it senses someone with a holy yang body. If someone were to cultivate with someone like that who also made a breakthrough, then the Dan's durability will also be improved. Right now, this is the best chance I have." General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan said, "Hey, you look unwell." Was I not thorough enough? Little Yantian thought to herself while looking at General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan. She's worried about me? She serves the Empress after all. If she left me and decided to find that cultivator herself, she wouldn't be able to report back to the Empress, right? Little Yantian said, "All creatures of this world. Throughout heaven and earth, there's nowhere to hide." Suddenly, multiple talismans surrounded General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan, and she said to herself, "Mystical concealment gate formation?" Little Yantian said, "Today, I will go after the man the Empress set her sights on. He's a rare, holy yang sanctified body that's not seen in 100 years. I can finally replenish my master's inner Dan and extend her lifespan. Please overlook this, General, and step aside. Or else." Suddenly, General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan sliced up all the talismans and said, "You didn't expect to actually beat me, did you? If you were to behave and let me take care of Her Majesty's matters, perhaps she may overlook your foolish aspirations. But that is out of the question if you were to act out of line. And for that matter, is this how your master taught you? All that talk, you still had to rely on others to do everything for you. Typical of lowlives to resort to such methods." Little Yantian got angry and said, "Take that back. I demand you take it back." She grabbed the sword of General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan and shouted, "What does my uselessness have to do with my master?" Suddenly, multiple talismans shot at General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan. She was shocked and said, "You!" Little Yantian said, "It's useless. Take a break inside my earth spirit formation." General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan said, "A seal formation." When did she? She thought of the time that little Yantian smothered her face in her huge breast. Little Yantian said, "The earth spirit formation severs your pact with blood and can only be dispelled by the caster. Only those in the life and death realm can force it apart. Your martial training is 10 times as strong as mine, General. Of course, I wouldn't be able to stand up to you. The gate formation is just a sleight of hand. I was betting on your distaste for my methods." General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan shouted at little Yantian while trapped, saying, "You planned this all along. You fraud, liar." Little Yantian said while walking away, "I never lied to you. It's precisely because I'm the helpless type that I must rely on these cheap tactics. Without a master around, I had to figure it out for myself. It has nothing to do with my master." She jumped away and said to herself, "You think I wouldn't want to bet on my life and give everything I had to secure a safe passage for my master? I did everything I could. I have no other choice but to resort to these methods. Step by step, I'll eventually be able to save my master. I'll protect you, master, no matter what mud I have to dig through to soil my hands. Suddenly, the twisted bodhisattva said, "That's the spirit." It looked at little Yantian. Little Yantian was shocked and said, "Lord," she thought to herself, "what is he doing in a place like this?" The twisted bodhisattva said, "The cores you have offered me throughout this year were made using inferior ingredients from grass-fed spirit beasts. If you pay me back using your body's core, my heart will be at ease. In fact, I can sense a fine ingredient in your vicinity, one of a recently made breakthrough from the life and death realm. You will bring that back to me." Little Yantian went silent. Suddenly, from a distance, a person said, "Spare your efforts." Little Yantian looked at Yi Shen, and he continued to say, "I'm right here," as his aura raged in black and red. Little Yantian said, while looking at Yi Shen, "You, how did you?" Yi Shen replied, "I wasn't talking to you." And he thought to himself, that figure behind her, that's the one from Lualua's recollection. It seems like that's the one behind it all. The twisted bodhisattva said, "Oh ho ho, not bad. A mere life and death realm is able to sense my presence. Very good. The ingredient brought himself to me." Yi Shen asked, "Ingredient?" Then he suddenly attacked and said, "I'm here to end you." The twisted bodhisattva chuckled. "We've got a feisty one here. Even better." Suddenly something exploded in the sky. Little Yantian whispered to herself, How could this be? He's able to hurt that person's projection?" Yi Shen demanded. "Foul bodhisattva, were you the one who harmed Luo?" The twisted bodhisattva looked at Yi Shen. Yi Shen suddenly jumped, and the twisted bodhisattva said, "Insolence! I am the gatekeeper bodhisattva of happiness and sorrow. You will acknowledge my supremacy. Observe." And kowtow! A shockwave emanated from the palms of the twisted bodhisattva. He continued, "Even if you have made a breakthrough into the life and death realm, your body is still mortal born. But to be able to shatter my visage, I acknowledge your strength." Suddenly, the twisted bodhisattva noticed something, and his hands broke as Yi Shen glowed in gold. Yi Shen declared, "Projection? Whatever dirt deity you are, just call in your real body. I don't care what form of bodhisattva you are. Those who lay a finger on my disciples, I'll send them off myself." He punched the twisted bodhisattva, causing it to explode. As a dark object dropped from the sky, Yi Shen caught it. It was part of the twisted bodhisattva's face, and he said, "Disciple. Ah, now I remember. A while ago, I do recall squashing an insect, didn't I? The way you present yourself, I can certainly see the similarities. Ah ha ha. That one was also of the first tribulation in the life and death realm. I have shattered her body. Even if that one were to escape as a spiritual fetus, there is no hope of regaining a physical body. The dying throes of that one mentioned something about a master. Your fate will be no different from that insect." Yi Shen crushed the remains of the twisted bodhisattva and remarked, "Such harsh words for someone who ran that quickly. That I have to acknowledge, though there's no hurry." Meanwhile, little Yantian ran towards Yi Shen, but she suddenly stopped and silently looked at him. General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan exclaimed, "Sir, what is the meaning of this? After all she's said and done, you're willing to let her off like that? She's under the palm of our enemy, and the path she walked has never been a noble one. The way I see it, you should take her in and interrogate her." Yi Shen looked at her silently and then asked little Yantian, "Child, what is your relation with the great fortune teller? After I've exorcised that bodhisattva, I can no longer sense him from you. And that's when I discovered traces of that fortune teller." Little Yantian was shocked and said, "How did you know my master's title?" General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan exclaimed, "What? That eerie diviner was your master? You're Her Majesty's. The supreme sovereign who stands in front of you is Her Majesty, the Empress Master." Little Yantian was shocked, blushed, and sweated, muttering to herself, "So he's just the founder of my masters. He's the legendary demonic supreme, and here I thought he'd be some white-haired old fart." Yi Shen explained, "If the fortune teller has bestowed her life upon you, I'm afraid her lifespan is like that of a mortal right now." Little Yantian blamed herself. "It's all because of me. Because of someone like me, it opened up a chance for that bastard. If my master hadn't passed on her energy to me, wouldn't someone like her be more than capable of getting away? But the moment her spiritual energy wavered, she was captured. That bastard somehow managed to get a hold of her title as the eerie diviner and had her divine the various ways he could manifest himself in this continent. Since my master refused to assist him, he used his foul spells to bind her body by his will, divinate. After he got the results he wanted, he had me collect 1,000-year refinement pills for him so that he may gain a physical body and walk this realm. But he did a number on my master. She can neither live nor die. After that, I had no choice but to follow his orders to collect the refinement pills for him, yet he keeps moving the goalposts. He would continue to torture my master to get me to act. As of now, he's gathered 500 years worth on him. If I can find a yang body, it would have been close to my goal. However, that foul bodhisattva is a being beyond this realm. No one can see him coming. Within a flash, he has severed our connection just like that. I can't find him anymore. I can't find my master. Yishen reassured her. There's no need to cry. Little Yantian was shocked, and Yishen continued, I have my ways. Luanyana said, What? You want to take a detour? Xiao Chun, my intention was for you to accompany him and hurry back. Why are you going to spend 3 more days in the south before returning to the city? General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said, Your Majesty, that female cultivator really wants to save her master. I can prove it. It's just a long way. You don't sound well. Rest first, Luan Yener said, silently listening. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan continued, Your Majesty, I, your lowly servant, have exhausted most of my cultivation saving that girl. If I try to read her mind now, I'm scared I'll damage my physical body, Luan Yener asked. Xiao Chun, have you encountered some sort of trouble? You exhausted your cultivation and are going in person. Besides, no matter how far the South Bank is, it should only take half a day with formations and talismans. Tell me the truth. Luan Yener said. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said, The Supreme said there's a rare flower called the Bian on the South Bank, which is red and beautiful. That flower grows underground in the Longyuan abyss, and it's difficult to obtain, but it suits Yener. Luan Yener was shocked. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan continued telepathically, perfect as a wedding decoration. Luan Yener asked, Did he really say that? General Xia Chun of the Ta clan silently moaned. A few moments later, she said to herself, I promised that I wouldn't lie to her, but I still couldn't keep my word. But now, the Blood River Elder is watching the outside city of Wuji Sect with eager eyes. She can no longer afford any other distractions. I'll leave the matter of the eerie diviner to the Supreme himself. Didn't he say he had a way? Yishen, in the distance, raged and formed his aura and said, Got it. In the battle earlier, I had injected my QI into its projection, making it unable to hide. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said, But that thing isn't one of the 5 elements, is it? Little Yantian said, Also, even if you can locate it, going beyond the 5 elements, the so-called beyond the 5 elements means without a mind, self, or desire. The murky area, without a form. In the Kanjuan continent, even for the most powerful cultivator, at the very least, they would have to give up their physical body before they can enter. The reason I entered the place beyond the 5 elements before was because the foul bodhisattva used QI to cover up my 5 elements. I secretly calculated that QI can only be enlightened by those who are above the 3rd tribulation of the life and death realm. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said to herself, The Supreme is still on the 1st tribulation even after his breakthrough. Could it be? Yishen said, No need for trouble. His aura suddenly formed around them. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said, This golden thread, Yishen said seriously, Isn't it my energy? Little Yantian said to herself, The energy reversal. It's also making my energy chaotic, Little Yantian said. Senior sister. Why? Suddenly they felt something all over their bodies. Yishen said, Done. A cultivator's energy is connected to the 5 elements. I changed the direction of your energy flow so they conflict with each other. After disruption, the 5 elements can be referred to as null. Little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Ta clan were shocked. General Xia Chun said to herself, What? Changing the direction of energy while a person is still alive? Little Yantian said to herself. How is this any different from an immortal changing fate against heaven's will? There's no time to be shocked. There's no time to waste. Let's go. One more moment of delay means that Master would suffer that much more. I'll lead the way, Little Yantian said. Yishen was silent and suddenly said, Wait, there's a more important matter. A few moments later, in another scene, Twisted Bodhisattva said, Sigh, and he slammed the floor, making a huge blast. He continued to say, "Tisk, so hot," as he touched his eyes. "You cunning little brat. How dare you put restrictions on my projections? Do you think you've won? Ridiculous. To save her master, she'll definitely try to dual cultivate with that brat. Even if it will only delay her death by 3 breaths." Suddenly Yishen showed up, and Twisted Bodhisattva was shocked. Yishen said, "No wonder you ran so fast. You stink like old dirt." Twisted Bodhisattva said to himself, "How is he that fast? Isn't he only at the first tribulation?" Twisted Bodhisattva said to Yishen, "Who do you think you are?" Yishen came near to Twisted Bodhisattva. Twisted Bodhisattva said, "Why aren't you my rare Dan? Have you thought it through? Becoming a part of my body is far more glorious than being a cultivator." Yishen said, "I have thought it through. As the old saying goes, it's better to resolve enemies than make new ones. I'm still in need of a close disciple. If you bow to me 800 times, I might just accept you." Twisted Bodhisattva got angry and said, "Close disciples, more like close your offer." Yishen suddenly attacked Twisted Bodhisattva. He looked behind and grabbed the attack of Twisted Bodhisattva. Twisted Bodhisattva said, "I've changed my mind. I'll swallow you alive." Yishen looked at Twisted Bodhisattva with his killer eyes and said to himself, "Those two, are they safe?" A few moments earlier, Yishen said to little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan, "Wait, there's a more important matter." Little Yantian in shock said, "Yishen, sir, stop being so secretive. What could be more important than saving my master?" Yishen responded, "That's why you shouldn't be so hasty. The foul Bodhisattva came here to seek the longevity elixir, so he expected you to be around me. If you get your hands on it, then he'll profit. On the contrary, it can also take advantage of this time to recuperate and make a comeback. But even with the great fortune teller in his hands, I'll have my morals." "Demon Supreme, sir, you might as well say it directly. What should we do?" "Create a diversion. When we break into the place beyond the 5 elements, we will immediately divide into 2 groups," Yishen instructed. "You both rescue the great fortune teller, and I'll stall the foul Bodhisattva by containing him. It's just that you'll be in a lot more danger than I will be. In order to eliminate the 5 elements, I disrupted your QI flows, which also means you can no longer use magic. The only variable is the length of time needed for the rescue. The hope of survival in this desperate situation is also a variable." "Master, I am willing to give it a try, be it life or death," little Yantian declared. General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan went silent and looked at little Yantian. Yishen said, "Okay, once you two succeed, blow this. I will end the battle immediately and join you." He used his power and gave it to little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan. "Let's go." The battle begins. Back in the present, little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan moved through a muddy place to look for little Yantian's master. General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan said, "A talisman with no additional spells can only burn this bright. Are you sure we're not going the wrong way?" When I set up the formation and entered the place beyond the 5 elements, I saw in a blink of an eye that the foul Bodhisattva was in a pure white land. Little Yantian replied, "I have walked this path thousands of times. I will never go the wrong way." Pure white land. That was the illusion created by that beast himself. It's essentially no different than this puddle of mud. Suddenly, little Yantian whispered, "Stop. We're here," General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan said in shock. This thing is called the Tongqian Dao, and it was placed here as a guard by the foul Bodhisattva. If one is caught by it, within 10 feet, not even bones will be left. Master is locked behind that thing. Judging from its appearance, it should have an excellent field of vision. Even without the blessing of magic, it shouldn't be difficult to kill instantly with my speed. But it may alarm the foul Bodhisattva and hinder the demon supreme. 3. T2. Wait. First, General Xia Chun of the Tia clan tried to intervene. 1. Little Yantian said. General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan was shocked. "Now, what did you do?" "Nothing. Tongqian Dao has good vision and a fierce nature, but it also has a fatal flaw. Every 30 breaths, it will close its eyes and rest. This is our opportunity. There is a small door ahead. Let's go in through that. Remember, close your eyes when passing through the door, otherwise you'll be blinded by the mechanism. There is a ghost lamp 15 feet away from the small door. Take it, otherwise you will be haunted by wandering spirits. And, little Yantian instructed. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said in shock, has she always been this way? Avoiding the traps over and over again, memorizing the tricks of each stage. Day after day, just to save her master. If it were me, could I endure and lie dormant like her for so long? Little Yantian said, Master, your disciple is here. Little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Ta clan looked at Little Yantian's master, chained above. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan went silent and looked at Little Yantian. The foul bodhisattva is crazy and thinks that no one can cross the maze and rescue my master. Therefore, no more defenses are set up here. General, as long as we remove the ecstasy nail from master's body and cut off the iron chain, we can rescue her, Little Yantian explained. It doesn't smell right. The eerie diviner has the smell of the soul-breaking thread on her. It's entangled in her QI and difficult to decipher, General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said. It can connect the caster and the recipient. If the thread is broken, not only will the recipient die, but the caster will be immediately aware of it, Little Yantian said in shock. What? Little Yantian remembered her time with her master, and it all flashed back to her. She couldn't comprehend the revelation that General Xia Chun of the Ta clan had said. She went hopeless and dropped to the ground as her eyes went blank. I still can't save her, Little Yantian said in shock, and she began to cry. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan said, Don't be silly. The Demon Supreme had us both come together. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan took out an item and said, The Demon Supreme had us both come together. Here, Her Highness's Jade Messenger, also known as the Revival Talisman, can be used as an extra life when encountering certain death. To herself, General Xia Chun of the Ta clan thought, could it be? No need to bother. Thinking back, the Supreme had already noticed that I had a Jade Messenger at that time. After all, Her Highness's aura was on it. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan continued, the soul-breaking thread only recognizes the caster, not the recipient. All you need to do is use your hair as a matchmaker and tie it around the charm. Have it replace the eerie diviner. Little Yantian smiled and held the revival talisman with new hope. In another scene, the twisted bodhisattva suddenly said, Oh, the soul-breaking thread, eh? Was I mistaken? Yishen interrupted, Hey, and he punched the twisted bodhisattva to distract him. Where are you looking? You should be focused when fighting. I'm going to teach you that now, understand, little brat. Haven't you figured out the situation? In here, you are but something in my pocket. Yishen stood unfazed by the intense dark aura of the twisted bodhisattva. Dark monsters appeared before him, and he said, Your only choice is to be dismembered by me. Yishen silently stood while the twisted bodhisattva was about to consume him. So, noisy, the twisted bodhisattva said. What's that sound? What did you do? Not what did I do, but what I'm about to do. Suddenly, the twisted bodhisattva's corruption disintegrated from the intense pressure of Yishen's power. Yishen's eyes became serious, and he pointed at the twisted bodhisattva, saying, I can finally beat you up with no remorse. Twisted bodhisattva said, Yang energy. The purest kind of yang energy. You still have so much of it. The purest yang body of the life and death realm could see my true body. But they're still intact. This talent is truly outstanding. I'll definitely eat you. And he grabbed Yishen and bit him. Twisted Bodhisattva laughed and said, Hey, you've fallen victim to my teeth bite. Even if you're a powerful person at the sixth tribulation of the life and death realm, you'll be ripped apart by me in the end. Suddenly, Twisted Bodhisattva stopped and looked. He said to himself, Can't bite down. Yishen mockingly said, A massage? A mosquito bite hurts more than yours. He suddenly punched Twisted Bodhisattva's mouth. Twisted Bodhisattva shouted in pain and said, You brat, your physical body is sanctified. Yishen followed up with another punch and said, What? Are you jealous? I still have a surprise for you. He charged his fist and punched Twisted Bodhisattva with intense force. Twisted Bodhisattva's body was blasted with an electrifying punch. Twisted Bodhisattva said, This... Shen smiled and said, A physical body. Isn't that what you wanted? Suddenly, one of Twisted Bodhisattva's heads exploded. He said to himself in shock, Just what kind of divine being is this brat? He could create a physical body for me with his bare hands. But in the place beyond the 5 elements, if one has a physical body, they'll disappear. I need to get out quickly. Twisted Bodhisattva began to feel pain and was ensnared by Yi Shen's energy. Yi Shen said, "Where are you going in such a rush?" He silently moved closer, and with intense power, he used his skill spiraling gate of 9 heavens formation. He said, "Our fate has not come to an end yet." His power intensified. Twisted Bodhisattva said to himself, "What kind of technique is this? It can trap me so tightly that I can't move." Twisted Bodhisattva shouted, "You!" Suddenly, Twisted Bodhisattva's arm was cut like butter. He looked at Yi Shen. Yi Shen stood silently with energy in his finger. Yi Shen said, "This feels just right. You must be happy to have a physical body now, right? So why are you showing a distraught expression?" He suddenly sewed the mouth of Twisted Bodhisattva with his energy. Yi Shen said, "No need to speak. I understand it's because the body is too ugly. It's okay. I'll help you fix it." Twisted Bodhisattva nervously sweated and trembled. Yi Shen said, "There's still much to fix. No hurry. This leg. It will cause you harm from all directions, which is no good. This head. It will cause you to reminisce too much, which is no good. This, and toes." As Yi Shen cut Twisted Bodhisattva into pieces, he said, "You have no use for them." "Yes, much better. Better," Twisted Bodhisattva said. "Little brat, do you really think you can kill me like this? I still have a physical body outside this place. Soul-breaking thread, activate. Come, great fortune teller." An empty bag appeared, and Twisted Bodhisattva was confused and shocked. Yi Shen smirked and laughed. "Was this your physical body? It's so small and unique, but you're so big. Can you really fit?" Twisted Bodhisattva shouted. You did this. I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you." He raged, shouting even louder, then suddenly stopped in shock and said to himself, "Ah, the body that was supposed to disappear. It's healing?" Yi Shen said, "The body will disappear. I know you're in a hurry, but slow down. I'm still here, aren't I? I said I'd fix it. I'll fix it until I'm satisfied." Twisted Bodhisattva said, "Ah, yang energy. The purest kind of yang energy. You still have so much of it. The purest yang body of the life and death realm could see my true body. But they're still intact. This talent is truly outstanding. I'll definitely eat you." And he grabbed Yi Shen and bit him. Twisted Bodhisattva laughed and said, "Hey, you've fallen victim to my teeth bite. Even if you're a powerful person at the 6th tribulation of the life and death realm, you'll be ripped apart by me in the end." Suddenly, Twisted Bodhisattva stopped and looked. He said to himself, "Can't bite down." Yi Shen mockingly said, "A massage? A mosquito bite hurts more than yours." He suddenly punched Twisted Bodhisattva's mouth. Twisted Bodhisattva shouted in pain and said, "You brat, your physical body is sanctified." Yi Shen followed up with another punch and said, "What? Are you jealous? I still have a surprise for you." He charged his fist and punched Twisted Bodhisattva with intense force. Twisted Bodhisattva's body was blasted with an electrifying punch. Twisted Bodhisattva said, "Ah, this..." Shen smiled and said, "A physical body. Isn't that what you wanted?" Suddenly, one of Twisted Bodhisattva's heads exploded. He said to himself in shock, "Just what kind of divine being is this brat? He could create a physical body for me with his bare hands. But in the place beyond the 5 elements, if one has a physical body, they'll disappear. I need to get out quickly." Twisted Bodhisattva began to feel pain and was ensnared by Yi Shen's energy. Yi Shen said, "Where are you going in such a rush?" He silently moved closer, and with intense power, he used his skill spiraling gate of 9 heavens formation. He said, "Our fate has not come to an end yet." His power intensified. Twisted Bodhisattva said to himself, "What kind of technique is this? It can trap me so tightly that I can't move." Twisted Bodhisattva shouted, "You!" Suddenly, Twisted Bodhisattva's arm was cut like butter. He looked at Yi Shen. Yi Shen stood silently with energy in his finger. Yi Shen said, "This feels just right. You must be happy to have a physical body now, right? So why are you showing a distraught expression?" He suddenly sewed the mouth of Twisted Bodhisattva with his energy. Yi Shen said, "No need to speak. I understand it's because the body is too ugly. It's okay. I'll help you fix it." Twisted Bodhisattva nervously sweated and trembled. Yi Shen said, "There's still much to fix. No hurry. This leg. It will cause you harm from all directions, which is no good. This head. It will cause you to reminisce too much, which is no good. This, and toes." As Yi Shen cut Twisted Bodhisattva into pieces, he said, "You have no use for them." "Yes, much better. Better," Twisted Bodhisattva said. Little brat, do you really think you can kill me like this? I still have a physical body outside this place. Soul-breaking thread, activate. Come, great fortune teller. An empty bag appeared, and Twisted Bodhisattva was confused and shocked. Yishen smirked and laughed. Was this your physical body? It's so small and unique, but you're so big. Can you really fit? Twisted Bodhisattva shouted. You did this. I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you. He raged, shouting even louder, then suddenly stopped in shock and said to himself, Ah, the body that was supposed to disappear. It's healing? Yishen said, The body will disappear. I know you're in a hurry, but slow down. I'm still here, aren't I? I said I'd fix it. I'll fix it until I'm satisfied. Little Yanqian shouted, Master, the leaf showed us the way. We're here, Suddenly, Little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Ta clan were shocked. Little Yantian said to herself, This is... As they saw Yishen and the Twisted Bodhisattva, Yishen said, Coming. He walked towards them and asked, How is the fortune teller? Little Yantian replied, Thanks to the general's help, her life isn't in danger. She just needs to wake up. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan asked, Sir, is that thing dead or alive? Little Yantian shouted, What? Dead? Isn't that punishment too light? It made my master stay on the border of life and death. How is he worthy of just having a body and soul that disappeared? Cutting it into pieces, boiling, and making medicines out of it isn't enough. Yishen laughed and said, That still wouldn't be severe enough. I used a technique to imprison him here and place a physical body restriction on him. This way, he'll suffer the pain of his body being reconstructed forever. Little Yantian said, As expected of the master. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan thought to herself, relieving one's QI is one thing, but more importantly, the foul bodhisattva has no chance of leaving the place beyond the 5 elements this way. Now that I think about it, since we entered the place beyond the 5 elements, up until I used the Jade Messenger to save the Eerie Diviner, the Demon Supreme had already foreseen all the possibilities. And this result must have been within his calculations. Is this what we call the strong? Yishen said, General Xia Chun of the Ta clan asked, Sir, what do you need? Yishen said, Put the fortune teller down. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan put her down. Little Yantian asked, Sir, is it true that the master isn't in a good state? Yishen explained, The reason why her physical body could survive the place beyond the 5 elements is because of the foul bodhisattva's QI. Now that it has declined, I have to redirect her QI flow before the QI disappears. Stand back, Little Yantian said. So the reason Master hasn't woken up is because of QI, Yishen replied. That's right. The fundamental reason is that her body is too weak without the life energy protecting her heart. However, her spiritual energy is yin. It's the opposite of mine, so I can't directly transfer QI. I can only stabilize her life first, then return to the outside world to think of a solution. Little Yanqian thought to herself, Master. It was for MME. She held her chest and went silent. Little Yantian said, Demon Supreme, please transfer my spiritual roots to my master. General Xia Chun of the Ta clan shouted, Transfer your spiritual roots? Then you'll. Little Yantian said, General, have you thought of how your life will end? Thanks to heaven's gift, my inner Dan is extremely yin, which is nicknamed the ultimate yin furnace. At first, I thought my life would end as just a tool to help cultivation. Others practiced. Everyone despised me. They would approach me for profit just because I was born as a bad seed. Truth is, I never thought that I'd have the opportunity to save someone. And she just so happens to be the most important person to me. This would be a wonderful ending for me, so please grant my wish. Yishen silently paused and said, Okay. Suddenly, energy formed around her. Little Yantian continued, There's one more thing. When Master wakes up, please tell her that Xiao Qiao has gone to travel around the mainland in order to become a professional cultivator. That way, I'll be more fulfilled. She looked at her master and closed her eyes. A few moments later, she woke up, felt something, and said, She sat up in shock and said, After my spiritual roots were transferred, my body should have disappeared. How am I still? Yishen said, Silly girl, if someone else were to perform the spiritual root transfer, you would indeed die. But I was in control of the situation, so why wouldn't I save your life? It's just that your spiritual roots are gone, and your inner Dan is also useless. I'm afraid you won't be able to cultivate anymore. Suddenly, little Yantian hugged Yishen and pressed her chest against him. She said, Okay, This couldn't be better. Master is saved and I don't have to be a bad seed anymore. Demon Supreme, thank you, thank you. Yi Shen suddenly pushed her away and said, "Ooh." Just saying your gratitude is enough, little Yantian said. How could it be enough? General Xia Chun of the Tia clan thought to herself, a strong person with a soft heart. Her Highness chose the right man. Yi Shen said, enough. Everything has been more or less sorted out. Let's go back. Little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Tia clan walked back. Suddenly, little Yantian looked back and said, Sir, Yi Shen said, Coming. He held the real body of the twisted bodhisattva. A few moments later, Luan Yaner said, So, care to explain what happened? Yi Shen said, Yaner, listen to me. Luan Yaner said, I'm listening. Allow me to listen carefully about why you returned as the first tribulation of the life and death realm after just going on a little trip. Never mind the junior sister, the fortune teller, but why did this female cultivator also return to the sect? Master, you better choose your words wisely. If you say the wrong thing, punishment will be ensured. In a different scene, the fortune teller was carried to the sect. Little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Tihei clan looked at them from a distance. General Xia Chun said, Don't worry, Her Highness has already asked for the sect's best medical practitioners to treat the eerie diviner. Believe in her. She'll wake up soon. Little Yantian said, Yeah, Her Highness has countless talented medical practitioners. I definitely believe her. I've really caused you too much trouble during this trip. By the way, where did Her Highness and the Demon Supreme go? I'd like to bow and express my gratitude to them. General Xia Chun was shocked and began to sweat. She suddenly said, I'll take you to change and eat first. She pushed little Yantian away and added, Those two are probably busy. In a different scene, Luan Yane exhaled deeply as her sweat dampened her thin silky dress. She continued to exhale deeply. Yi Shen asked, Yaner, what are you doing? I can understand that you wanted to find someplace secluded to question me, but why did you tie me up? Luan Yaner said, Be patient, master. Don't talk so much. Yi Shen thought to himself, This eldest disciple of mine is really annoyed. Seems like she won't let me go so easily. I'll let her do as she wishes to calm her down first. Suddenly, Luan Yaner pulled the truth silk. Yi Shen was shocked and said, Wait, this feeling. Luan Yaner said, What master said was all too coincidental. Yaner is no longer a foolish 3-year-old child. The truth silk will force you to tell me the truth. Truth silk. It's a sharp weapon for interrogating suspicious gangs in the Wuji sect. After infusing it with spiritual power, connect it to the suspect and interconnect their senses. When someone speaks the truth, the other person will feel immense pain. Yi Shen said, What would I do if I hurt you? Yaner, please listen to me and remove it. He was suddenly grabbed. Luan Yaner said, Master, when you first achieved the first tribulation of the life and death realm, did you do something with that female cultivator? Yi Shen thought to himself. She doesn't plan on giving me a chance to refuse at all. He said, Yes. Luan Yaner, while sitting on Yi Shen, said, The truth silk didn't react. It's a lie then. As expected. Master is afraid of hurting me, so he's lying on purpose. But a lie is a lie. I'd be willing to feel a little pain instead of hearing lies that hurt my heart, Yi Shen thought to himself. The reaction of the truth silk. She's telling the truth. As a master, how could I allow my disciples to feel pain? Yi Shen said, Yaner, and she touched his lips. Luan Yaner said, If that fortune teller really is the master of that female cultivator, then did you rescue her because you care about her? Or the female cultivator? Yi Shen thought to himself, More? Whether it's the little girl or the fortune teller, I rescued them because they're both members of my sect. There isn't any other reason. He held Luan Yaner closer. Luan Yaner said, Eh? Yi Shen thought to himself, I am your master, so how could I involve my love for my disciples with my duties? The question is, neither of these two answers is the truth. Which one wouldn't cause Yaner harm? Luan Yaner said. Master, Yi Shen said, the fortune teller. Suddenly, Luan Yaner's eyes changed, and she was shocked. She thought to herself, no pain, it's a lie. Could it be that master cares for that female cultivator more? Yi Shen said, Yaner? She suddenly hugged Yi Shen tightly and said, You took the female cultivator back to the sect with you. Have you developed feelings for her? Yi Shen said, That's not it. Luan Yaner suddenly felt pain and said, Ouch! Yi Shen shouted, Yaner! He thought to himself, Oh no, I accidentally told the truth. I caused her pain. No, I need to undo this silk first. Luan Yanner, in pain, said, Master Yanner is so happy. Yishen was shocked. He thought to himself, it hurts. He's telling the truth. But why? Why is Yanner happy that I have no feelings for that little girl? Luan Yanner, sweating and hugging Yishen tighter, said, now, my final question, Master. She pressed her body to Yishen and said seductively, do you want to spend a night together? Luan Yanner whispered to Yishen, do you want? Suddenly Yishen began to sweat, his eyes widening in surprise. Luan Yanner continued, to spend a night together? Yishen stammered, eh? And thought to himself, did she say a night together, a light together, a fight together, or something else entirely? I'm so confused. Am I being stupid? Luan Yanner, frustrated, called him a dummy and wrapped her legs around him, saying, stop playing dumb. What's so difficult to understand? Yishen became nervous and blushed, stammering, Luan Yanner asked, Master, is Yanner not pretty enough? Yishen shouted, how could you not be? Startled, Luan Yanner moaned, and panted seductively, ha ha. Yishen, flustered, responded, Yanner. Luan Yanner insisted, I know. But if Master doesn't want me, I'll keep on hunting until you tell me what's really on your mind. She then seductively asked, let's see, will you finally give in? Yishen, looking away, said, enough. Luan Yanner grabbed his face and pulled him close, saying, so you declined to answer? She then pressed Yishen's face against her chest and placed his hand between her legs, whispering, even better. I'll take your silence as a yes. She held Yishen's hand, which felt cold as ice, and Yishen suddenly used a secret technique, transforming into smoke. Moments later, Luan Yanner saw Yishen as a doll, and she exclaimed, he escaped? Yishen, outside and jumping away, muttered, damn it. As a master, how could I have these thoughts towards my own disciple? Luan Yanner, touching her lips, sighed, that's why he's running. With this kind of strength, he might have hurt me by accident. Silly master. A few moments later, Yishen was relaxing under a waterfall, reciting to himself, may my heart and soul be as one, as my energy flows freely in harmony, no change shall move me. He tried to calm his mind, but couldn't stop thinking about Luan Yanner. He blushed and suddenly he punched himself, causing the water to shake. He sighed and said, no matter how many times I read the heart-calming mantra, it's useless. It seems my training is still lacking. Yanner, weren't you that independent little lady I used to know? You had such a foul mouth, but your heart was in the right place. You'd never fight over anything and quietly followed behind your senior sisters. He remembered a time when their sect was in danger, how he fought on the front lines while Luan Yanner ensured everything was all right back home. She had told him she wanted everlasting peace and family for their sect. He reminisced about her greeting him warmly, Master, you're back, and wondered why she was now coming on to him. He thought to himself, how should I face you? Suddenly Luolua appeared, saying, are you just playing dumb, Master, or do you really not know? Yishen, shocked, exclaimed, Luolua, you can reform yourself. Luolua replied, yeah, it's all thanks to Master tucking my soul inside the heavenly book. I've been slowly nurturing my soul, Yishen cautioned. You still need to pay attention to your energy output. Suddenly materializing like that can be dangerous. While I fought that bodhisattva, I sealed a great deal of his cultivation inside this order jade. But since your current being is non-recipient, I was going to slowly transfer this back to you while you recover. Luolua pressed him. You still haven't answered my question. Are you truly not aware of how she feels, or are you avoiding her because you genuinely never felt that way towards her? If not, why not look at Luoluo instead? Yishen, confused, asked, what do you mean? Luolo clarified, was I not clear? Since Master doesn't want to sleep with senior sister, how about with me? Although I'm currently a spirit, I know no less than senior sister. What do you think? Yishen responded with a playful karate chop to her head, saying, are you pranking me again? Don't think that I can't do anything to you because you're a spirit, messing with me. Lulu went silent and then remarked, it's obvious now. Master, you only view me as a child. Floating in the air, she continued, an adult isn't moved by a child's words, so they wouldn't be troubled, right? That means you already view senior sister as a woman. Yishen's face showed shock as he repeated, woman. Impossible. Yanner is your senior sister and also my dearest disciple. Luoluo countered, so, what does the love between a man and a woman have to do with identity? Or could it be, senior sister isn't your type? Master, would you prefer someone smaller? Yishen responded, nonsense. What does size have to do with this? Suddenly, Luoluo transformed into smoke and returned to the scroll. As it dropped to the ground, Luan Yanner approached, saying, Master, who were you talking to? Even hiding in this secret place, I finally found you. She handed over the scroll, and Yishen thanked her, relieved that he hadn't been caught. Yishen tried to explain, because I suddenly thought of something. Luan Yanner grabbed his hands and asked, what could possibly be this urgent? I think I heard something about size. Yishen, nervous, stammered, yes, right. He then launched into an explanation. According to my observation, size is directly proportional to the amount of inner danqi a person has, thus affecting the speed of breaking through a realm. This is the latest cultivation study I've done. In summary, the larger the size, the greater the cultivation. As he thought about Bao Buns, he inwardly cried, oh no. Oh, what the heck am I talking about? Such nonsense will definitely be judged. It's hard to get out of this situation, and now Yanner will definitely. Luan Yanner burst into laughter. Ha ha, what nonsense. Master is thinking about random things again. So according to that theory, doesn't it mean that the spiritual practice of men won't be able to catch up to that of women? Suddenly, Yishen blushed, feeling something towards Luan Yanner. She noticed and asked, Master, what are you thinking about? He looked away, mumbling, nothing, I just suddenly thought in this world only you would laugh at my fantastical ideas. Luan Yanner blushed. Yishen coughed and said, Yanner, regarding what you said about that, Luan Yanner touched Yishen's lips and interrupted, Master has been out for so long. You must be tired, right? How about you rest for a while first? Yishen agreed. Okay, he thought to himself, she is still as considerate as ever. It turns out I was overthinking. A few moments later, Yishen found himself at a bathhouse. Luan Yanner seductively called out, Master, what's wrong? Are you not coming? Yishen, shocked and confused, thought, this makes sense, as if it makes any sense. You told me to rest. I thought I was going to eat or sleep, but it turns out. Luan Yanner explained, what's wrong? I remember Master cares about being clean, so why won't you come into the bath? The spring water in this bath is called Jade, and it's the #1 nourishing sacred spring in the mainland. Not only can it eliminate fatigue, but also strengthen muscles and bones. On top of that, it can improve cultivation. Master has been out and also broke through the realm in a short period of time. Yanner thought that this would be the time to replenish your ki. Or maybe I was wrong. Yishen quickly responded, No, this is exactly what Master needs. Yanner is careful and considerate of me. I'm extremely happy. It's just a man and a woman. You only needed to bring me here. As for the rest, I could. Luan Yanner smiled, seemingly planning something, and suddenly grabbed his hand. The water moved violently as she hugged Yishen, saying seductively, Master, I am your disciple. Why do we need to care about age or gender? Also, when Yanner was hurt, Master took care of me much more carefully. Furthermore, just soaking in the jade isn't enough. I want you to recuperate so you get twice as strong. It's better to exchange internal chi and replenish your energy in the bath. Don't be stubborn, Master. This time just follow my lead and allow me to serve you, all right? Yishen protested. No need. You don't need to. Suddenly, Luoluo emerged from Yishen's robe, laughing. She appeared and slapped Yishen on the back, causing him to slip and shout, ah! The water splashed as he tried to grab onto something, ending up holding Luan Yanner's chest. Yishen, shocked, exclaimed, eh? As his conscience seriously pointed at him. Luan Yanner said, Master, you're hurting Mem. Yishen replied, Yanner, sorry. Little Yantian and General Xia Chun of the Ti clan listened outside. Luan Yanner said, I don't like pain. Yishen replied, I know. Little Yantian was horrified, and General Xia Chun of the Ti clan got angry. She shouted, screw, while little Yantian tried to cover her mouth. Little Yantian smothered General Xia Chun in her breast and said, General, what are you doing? Haven't you heard the old saying, it's better to demolish a temple than a couple? General Xia Chun replied, this is different. They're doing these things before marriage. What about Her Highness's reputation? Lil Yantian said, oh, where's this coming from, Miss Overprotective? Now who's the one talking about other people's affairs? Like you just heard, he is a gentle master, don't worry. Please keep it down. General Xia Chun responded, Little Yantian teasingly said, speaking of which, thank you for inviting me to come and purify myself in the bath, General. She bumped her shoulder. General Xia Chun replied, how else would I be able to see this domestic scene? Little Yantian asked, what do you think? General Xia Chun silently thought about it. Little Yantian remembered what General Xia Chun had said, thinking to herself, the one who wants him is Her Highness. That's right, Her Highness is probably an important person to her. The general must feel uncomfortable seeing such a private scene. Little Yantian smiled and said, but you're right, General. If it were anyone else, then this would be fine, but this is Her Highness. Her Highness is famous across the world. She cannot be caught wearing braids and having her arms pinned behind her back. General, move over here a little. Let's find the perfect opportunity, appear suddenly, and interrupt them. Little Yantian suddenly saw Luan Yaner and exclaimed in shock, no! General Xia Chun suddenly grabbed her from behind and said, you can't. She put her down and continued, shh. Weren't you the one who told me to keep it down? Why are you making noise now? Little Yantian said, wait, where's the pure love? How could they actually be doing it? And in a bath too? What if it's unclean and they get an infection? General Xia Chun, confused, said, huh? This is the important part? Little Yantian said, there's nothing more important than this. You don't know this, General, but I used to be more than just a fortune teller. I was also half a doctor. Over the years, there have been women who fell ill due to their carelessness. Those ages range from 28 to 30. Besides, he has an extremely yang holy body known for strength as powerful as a huge brick. If not careful, Her Highness will be injured. And if they have some particular kinks, General Xia Chun, frustrated, said, don't think about those things. Little Yantian grabbed her wrist and said, therefore, as fellow women, we understand the difficulties of a female. Not only should we protect Her Highness's reputation, but more importantly, her health. We must stop accidents from happening. She held her hand, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. General Xia Chun said, you're right. Little Yantian asked then, how? General Xia Chun said, Master there. Little Yantian was watching, while General Xia Chun was thinking, and they both confirmed and looked at each other. Suddenly, they charged into the bathhouse. Little Yantian shouted, please slow down, spare her. Little Yantian and General Xia Chun looked around the room confused and said, hey, where are they? Luan Yaner, in the distance, was silent. She thought to herself, tisk, it's hard to get away with this. I didn't think of setting up a barrier when bathing privately. Thankfully, I activated my invisibility spell in time. Now we can continue peacefully. Right, my master. She looked at Yishen and saw a dumb doll of Yishen. She shouted, again? Meanwhile, Yishen ran out of the bathhouse thinking to himself, that was close. A few moments later, at Wuji Sect in the outer city, the area was crowded and busy, noisy and loud. An older sister called out to her little brother, don't run so fast. The boy replied, ha ha, come catch me, sister. Luolu exclaimed, wow, candied haws. I wonder if there's a kind master who can buy me a bunch of candied haws. Yishen said, you're even struggling to form a body, how can you eat a candied haw? Luolu responded, oh, don't I have a master who loves me the most? Even if I'm exhausted physically and mentally, he will never forget the heavenly book and make people unable to see me. That's the only reason Luoluo can come out and wander around. Yishen said, I care for you, but don't you sympathize with your master at all? In the bath, if you hadn't pushed me. Luoluo replied, if I didn't lend a hand, who knows when master would touch senior sister? Yishen sighed. Kids shouldn't meddle in adult affairs. Luoluo retorted, that's it? You were in seclusion for hundreds of years. Both senior sister and Luoluo are no longer children. You and senior sister are obviously in love. Where's the shame in letting others see? Deliberately hiding here in the Sect's courtyard. I really don't understand. Senior sister won't eat you or anything. It was only the word love and you. She tried to grab Yishen, but her hand and body passed through him. She said, master, are you even listening to me? She grew frustrated. Suddenly, she was shocked to see two beautiful and sexy ladies badly injured in the distance. Flower group Bai Xiaohei saw Yishen and called out, Sen, senior. She then shouted, Senior, I beg you, please help my senior sister. Yishen tried to remember her and asked, you are? She replied, Flower group Bai Xiaohei. And this is flower group Bai Chinger. A few moments later, Bai Chinger rested on the lap of Bai Xiaohei. Yishen observed, that does it. Your senior sister is like this due to the exhaustion of her inner elixir and lack of physical strength. I've used magic to replenish it, so don't worry. Bai Xiaohe, tearful, replied, "Thank you for your help. Without you, I fear that my senior sister." Suddenly, a curse also spread to Bai Xiaohe's body, and she cried out, "Wah!" Yishen said, "Just now on the street, I sensed a strange aura of magic seals coming from both of you. Just what is going on?" Bai Xiaohe responded, "As expected of my senior. I'll tell you the truth then." She slowly revealed her body to Yishen and said, "Senior, please take a look." Yishen was shocked and thought to himself as he stared at Bai Xiaohe's body, this seal. "Isn't that the holy seal of the Blood River cult that I wiped out myself 100 years ago?" Yishen asked. "Did you two voluntarily accept the Blood River mark?" Bai Xiaohe exclaimed, "No way. My sister and I are from the Flower Group, and we have sworn to our ancestors that we'd never betray them or leave our sect," Yishen speculated. "Was it a personal vendetta?" Bai Xiaohe shook her head. "Impossible. This was the first time my sister and I traveled down the mountain." Luoyan, the Poison Supreme, chimed in. Oh, that's strange. I've never seen something like this, and we were just wandering around in Wuji Sect." "Master, could these two girls be spies?" Yishen thought to himself. These two have shown their faces in front of hundreds of people. If they really were spies, why would they return to the Wuji Sect? When members of the Flower Group travel outside the sect, they must obtain the master's handwritten order. "Did you get involved with the Blood River sect during the process?" Bai Xiaohe denied it. "How would that be possible?" "Master asked us to." Suddenly she remembered something and continued, "We came here under Master's orders to look for medicinal herbs in the central part of the continent. During our trip, we passed by Wuji Sect. Thank goodness you saved us just in time." She then recalled their first encounter and explained, "Afterward, my sister and I traveled east but ran into the Blood River cult preaching in a village. No, it was more like torture than preaching. They tortured people into converting and branded them with bloody patterns, not even sparing a 7-year-old child. Just when my sister and I wanted to hide and wait for the right time to save the villagers, we were caught." As they fought, Bai Xiaohe shouted, "Sister!" Bai Qing'er urged, "Xiao Dao, hold on." Bai Xiaohe continued, "In that crisis, my sister used her magic to protect me, and after a fight, we were able to shake them off. But when we reached an empty area, I found that my sister had already been marked by the Blood River cult. It was a full moon that night, and my sister felt so miserable that she almost killed herself. The road back to the sect is long, my cultivation level is too low, and I was afraid that the people from the Blood River cult would harass us again. I dragged my sister back to the Wuji sect, hoping the Empress could stop those people. If I were lucky enough to run into you again, I might have had a chance to be saved again." Yishen reassured her, "No need to be shy. When traveling, there will be times when you need help. But according to what you just said, the only person who was marked was your sister. How come you?" Bai Xiaohe explained, "The mark on my body suddenly appeared last night. Perhaps they never intended to spare either of us." Yishen considered, "This is a bit troublesome. The Blood River mark is a restriction imposed by the leader of the Blood River cult on his followers. Anyone marked will have their spiritual powers extracted from their physical body and gathered onto the leader's body. The fate of the followers is either to be sucked dry or they'll turn into corpses. To lift the seal, one must kill the caster." Bai Xiaohe pleaded, "Senior, perhaps by the next full moon, my sister and I will both be affected by these Blood River marks. Last time, it was spiritual energy exhaustion, but next time, we may lose our physical bodies. If that's the case, please take our remains to the Flower Group so that we can return to our homes. I will definitely repay your kindness in my next life." Luoyan, the Poison Supreme, sighed. "Tisk. I've seen this scene too many times." A few moments later, they went outside. Luoyan, the Poison Supreme, asked, "Master, do you want to leave the city and deal with that red-cloaked guy yourself?" Yishen replied, "Of course. Hundreds of years ago, the Blood River cult was already an evil cult. I remember their leader's name was." Luoyan, the Poison Supreme, added, "Blood River Elder." Yishen confirmed, "That's right. But during the sect war, I remember I did kill him once before." Luoyan, the Poison Supreme, shrugged. "So what? Even though I was killed, I'm still living in the heavenly book, aren't I? Who among those who practice Taoism doesn't have a life-saving trick? But Master, is it really okay for you to go to war like this?" Yishen replied firmly, "Being a cultivator doesn't mean one can do whatever they want. But you just heard that the Blood River cult attacked an ordinary village. Should I just stand by and watch?" Luoyan, the Poison Supreme, clarified. "Not that," Yishen asked. "What else do you mean?" Loy and the Poison Supreme, replied, Senior, Sister, duh. Master, this is the territory of the Wuji sect. If what that little girl said was true, do you think Senior Sister wouldn't know about it? As she finished speaking, she playfully chopped Yishen's head, making him exclaim, Ah! Yishen thought to himself, that's right. If even that little girl could find traces of the Blood River cult, how could Yaner, who's an empress, not notice? He said aloud, she's always hated evil and definitely wouldn't ignore it. Unless. Luoyan, the Poison Supreme, interrupted, didn't I say that we aren't children anymore? Senior Sister must have her reasons for doing this. Master doesn't need to tell her what to do anymore. What's more important is to discuss things with Senior Sister. She must definitely be waiting for you to go back. Yishen sighed and said, yes, I should go back. He thought to himself, but how am I supposed to face Yaner now? A few moments later, Yishen knocked on the door and called out, Yan! Suddenly, the door opened and smoke billowed out. Confused, Yishen asked, Yaner? Luan Yaner, shocked and sweating, replied, Master, you came back. After I took a bath, I was hungry, so I set up a small kitchen in the room. I made your favorite fried eggs. Yishen thought to himself, there was such a big commotion just now. I was afraid to face Yaner, but she was just worried about whether I was hungry. Speaking of which, when we saw those temptresses before, Yaner only exchanged spiritual consciousness with the general and never left the city to look for me. There were probably important matters in the sect that held her back. Could it be that Yaner had already found traces of the Blood River cult? Yishen asked, Yaner, does Master? Luan Yaner interrupted. What Master wants to ask, Yaner already knows. In the past, Luan Yaner had sighed, Master, you said you'd leave, and you actually left WY. Now that the remnants of evil have been eliminated, there will only be good days in the future. Why couldn't you bring me with you? You just left Yaner by herself outside. Why? When Master went into seclusion, I went to the cliff where you were almost every day to clean the place. I hoped that one day you'd change your mind and come out of seclusion to reunite with the sect. But you've been in seclusion for more than a month now. The Blood River ancestor, who you had slain, suddenly appeared before me. Not only did he not die, but he also used his magic to brand me with the Blood River seal, making me the cult's forbidden delicacy. At that time, I was already a cultivator, so logically, I shouldn't have been at a disadvantage, but I was suppressed to the point where I couldn't even move. Suddenly, I noticed that he had a red skull with the Blood River seal on it in his hand. That skull not only looked terrifying, but also emitted an ominous aura. I determined that the skull was abnormal, so I waited for an opportunity to use my magic to try and break it. Who would have thought that the Blood River ancestor would use his spiritual fetus to defend the skull and escape? After that, he disappeared from the face of the earth without any news. Yishen, alarmed, asked, Red skull? He thought to himself, according to Yaner, this skull is the secret to how the Blood River ancestor saved his life. Could it be the sacred object of the cult? No, that's impossible. There's no way I wouldn't have known such an important piece of information. Luan Yaner continued, I found it suspicious, but the Blood River ancestor was deep in hiding at that time, and the revival of the sect was the top priority. So, I put that aside for the time being and sent spies to conduct a secret investigation on the mainland. However, Yishen interjected, chaos began to arise within the Wuji sect. Luan Yaner was surprised. Master, how did you know? Yishen explained, in that guy's eyes, you are his beloved disciple, and he should kill you as soon as possible. But he didn't. Instead, he branded you with the Blood River seal. That seal is for him to gather energy and cultivate himself. He probably wanted to do something in the dark at the time. Since he was up to something in secret, the more chaotic the situation was, the better it was for him. Based on his sinister personality, he should have released followers in the Wuji sect to recruit new members, overwhelming you. Luan Yaner added, it's not enough. In the past 10 years, that Blood River ancestor suddenly reappeared and gave my spies information that he was recruiting members in the north. He even killed several of my good generals in the spirit realm, which shows that his strength has greatly increased, and he's about to break through the realm of life and death. Among the summons, there was also news of the death of innocents in the Wuji sect. I personally confirmed that the mark is exactly the same as the pattern on the red skull, the Blood River seal. When I discovered his intentions, I estimated that his cultivation level wasn't high at all, so I sent people out to distribute spiritual medicine to the citizens. After drinking it, they would exhibit symptoms similar to those from the seal. but it wouldn't be as severe. It could deceive those donkeys. But they cultivated at a much faster speed than I expected, Luan Yaner continued. They saw right through my tactics and started to abuse the citizens to display power, my heart. I feel. Yishen gently took her hand and said, hatred. Luan Yaner was shocked, her eyes widening. Master, Yishen wiped her tears away and said, I understand your suffering, Yaner. The Blood River ancestor is vicious, cruel, and murderous, yet he's never willing to confront anyone head-on. If he wants to hide, no one can find him. If we were to launch an attack right now and kill the cult's believers within the sect, it would inevitably cause panic among the people, making the situation more chaotic. This would make it even harder to catch the criminals. He spread that news to draw your attention and disrupt the hearts of the people, hoping that you'd be overwhelmed. Once you lose your composure, he will seize the opportunity to strike with one decisive blow. If you focus on the front lines, he can also gather more followers. What a scheming plan. If we don't have patience, we'll fall into his trap. Yaner, your approach was the best choice. Don't worry, I'll definitely cut off his head and use his blood as a sacrifice. We must, Luan Yaner suddenly interjected. Capture him and his followers. I didn't tell you ahead of time because I was afraid you'd crush him in a fit of rage. They are just like locusts, hiding behind the citizens and fanning the flames, killing one group in hopes of destroying the rest. Now that I know we both have the same plans, I can't help but feel at ease. She hugged Yishen, pressing her body against him. Yishen, slightly flustered, said, Is Master really so reckless in your eyes? What were you thinking? Sigh, you. If I had met the Flower Sisters by chance, who knows how long it would be until I spoke to you about this matter. If anything comes up in the future, you have to tell me. Suddenly, Luan Yaner raged. The Flower Sisters? Master, you found Blood River seals on the bodies of the citizens, right? Her color darkened, becoming as black as night. She continued, Flower, are they from the Flower Group? Those ladies in white clothing who once helped our sect? Yishen, now nervous, stammered, No, it wasn't Ruji herself. It was her disciples wandering outside. Luan Yaner, still angry, said, Ruji, you even remembered her full name. You have a pretty good relationship, huh? Yishen, scared, replied, Luan Yaner? You got it all wrong. It's just because we dueled with each other before. I haven't seen her since coming out of seclusion, I promise. Luan Yaner huffed. She glared at Yishen and asked, Really? Yishen became serious and said, Nothing but the truth. He made a scout sign. Luan Yaner softened, fingering Yishen's cheek. Fine, I will trust you this time. We're even now. From now on, I won't hide anything from you. And Master can't hide anything from me either, Yishen replied. Of course, I'll obey your every word. He thought to himself, I was just about to praise her for growing up and being smart, but I didn't expect her to still act like a child. Yishen then asked, So, what do you want to do in the current situation? You can tell Master now. Luan Yaner smiled and said, They wanted chaos, didn't they? Then I'll give them what they want. As the saying goes, the bigger the waves, the higher the fish will jump. She leaned in and whispered her plan to Yishen. In a certain cave, a follower exclaimed, Great Ancestor, you truly are like a god. That woman from the Wuji sect really didn't dare to knock at our door. She definitely wouldn't guess that I'm no longer in the north. However, within the sect, a boulder suddenly fell. The Great Ancestor sighed and said, You have led me to the Wuji sect, and in return, I will see you as an ally. Since we are family, why resort to violence? Nuisance. 5 years ago, the North was overtaken by the Blood River ancestors. Forces hidden beneath the great continent began to stir, yet they feared the central power amassed by the Empress herself. Despite all their conquests, the Blood River cult wouldn't dare openly challenge the Empress. Both sides maintained a delicate balance until one rainy day. The Blood River cult unleashed an unforeseen bloodbath. A mysterious assassin not only discovered the hideout of the Blood River ancestors, but also eradicated every single elite member. As the assassin made their escape, the path was suddenly ambushed. A cultist, trembling, asked, You? Who are you? The assassin replied coldly, I'm a salesperson. In the present, a head tumbled to the ground. Another cultist, recognizing the assassin, said, Oh, you're back. If the noise is bothering you, just say the word, and I'll have them all quiet down. No need for the violence you resorted to back then. Though, I wouldn't mind cleaning up this place again for a change. The salesperson remained silent. The cultist continued, "The mole I've planted in the Wuji sect has brought news. The Empress is planning to perform the heaven and earth ritual tonight." The heaven and earth ritual, the cultist thought. A dangerous ceremony that uses the specters of extraordinary individuals to enhance one's body. But even the slightest mistake could cause the energy to backfire. Not only would the attempt to break into another realm fail, but it would also lead to true death, the cultist sneered. She must be planning to wipe them all out and settle our grudges once and for all. As expected of the fiercest woman on the entire continent, yet, she's being too hasty with this. The field is set, but it lacks a spark. I need more reinforcements. Who will infiltrate the ranks of Wuji with me so they can lead me into the city? The salesperson silently produced a scroll and said, "Now." Elsewhere, within the Wuji sect, the cultist marveled, "As expected of you, my dear friend. Ha! Just as you said, the Empress had her forces lying in ambush at every choke point leading to her palace. But I didn't expect you to have prepared a secret passage 5 years ago, one that leads directly into the palace, no less." The cultist laughed. "Now let us enjoy the show." The salesperson remained quiet, thinking deeply before finally saying, "You talk too much." In the palace, Luan Yaner stood silently, applying a red paper to her lips. From outside, a voice called out, "Yaner, are you ready?" She put down the red paper and replied with a quiet, "Let's go." Her beauty was enchanting and flawless as she prepared herself for what was to come. In another scene, Bai Xiaohe was stunned as Bai Qinger awoke from her deep slumber. Meanwhile, in yet another part of the city, little Yantian prepared her talismans, ready to face the bad guys in the streets. At the same time, General Xiachun of the Tihe clan, badly wounded, rested under the full moon on a branch of a tree. Outside the palace, Luan Yaner, the Empress of the Wuji sect, stood beneath the full moon and with her beautiful voice declared, "The time of fortune is upon us." A person exclaimed, "Wow," as the festival bustled with color and energy. A girl asked, "Mom, what's going on?" "Are they celebrating the new year?" Her mother replied, "Silly girl, New Year doesn't come before snow." The girl wondered, "But it's night. Why isn't anyone going to bed?" Her mother explained, "That's because we've been summoned by the Empress herself," and pointed in a direction. A charming disciple said to the mother, "Please take one of these." The mother handed the paper to the little girl and said, "Hold on to these." The girl asked, "Eh? Is she not going to bed as well?" Her mother picked her up and said, "That's right. She's worked so hard for this day that she hasn't been able to get any sleep herself. Aren't you her biggest fan too?" The little girl nodded. The mother continued, "And there you have it. Now, why don't we all offer our prayers to her, wishing her nothing but success and happiness together?" At the festival, the blue sky illuminated the land. Each person found their own place where their spirits gathered. Light from above and below meticulously spread to all 4 directions. Gods above the skies, spirits on earth, may you bless our Empress with long-lasting peace. A black figure appeared in the sky. A sinister figure said, "Oh, the altar is set," and countless civilians began to chant their blessings. It seems Luan Yaner is set on holding the heaven and earth ritual, and there are no issues detecting the holy objects in the vicinity either. Wonderful. I imagine Luan Yaner would have something prepared for situations like this, but I was worried for nothing. We have something to discuss too after this, once she's made a breakthrough, that is. What about it, my dear ally? He looked behind and saw nothing. He then said, "Gone just like that, huh? Return to the port with the fishing hook and not going to show your face anymore." "Very well. Save me some breath. Once I have Luan Yaner in my grasp, I'll be the one in charge of this transaction." Suddenly, Luan Yaner was possessed, and people around her were thrown away. The disciple stammered, "Your Highness, is it done?" Luan Yaner glared with a killing stare. The sinister figure said, "Finally, you're mine, Luan Yaner." A charming disciple exclaimed, "Blood River bastard! What are you doing here?" A spear-wielding lady said, "Eh? That's not right." The sinister figure retorted, "You should be calling me Great Ancestor. Now, Luan Yaner, with your life and death realm, brand them all with the Blood River seal." As she was about to attack, she suddenly stopped and collapsed to the ground. The confused figure said, "Hey, what's going on? Whatever I sense from her, it's dissipating. Does that mean the heaven and earth ritual was a deed? Impossible. I sensed the energy of someone from the life and death realm when I branded her with the seal. What exactly is?" Suddenly, Yishen was about to strike him with his fist. The sinister figure was thrown away and slammed against the wall. He groaned, "Ugh!" Yishen said. Long time no see. The sinister figure gasped. You're that, you bastard. Yishen replied. Blood River, ever the sneaky opportunist. The sinister figure said. No. Impossible. I searched for you over the last 100 years, and I can confirm nothing remains of your body and soul. There's no way you can be right here. Luan Yaner asked. And what's so impossible about that? The sinister figure exclaimed. Luan Yaner. Yishen inquired. Yaner, how are you feeling? Luan Yaner responded. Nothing can go wrong with Master by my side. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said of that puppet. The sinister figure asked. What? So you're the target of the ritual instead. After all, no one in the sculpting divinity realm would be able to forge a puppet with the aura of someone in the life and death realm, unless. You've made a breakthrough, Yishen commented. Like I said, you're ever the same. Judging by your personality, the news of the Blood River troops marching onwards definitely isn't something you're responsible for. If so, then you definitely had plans elsewhere of preparation, and a decisive move, in fact. Immediately targeting the Wuji Sect would be your best option. Given Yaner's been keeping a close watch on her borders, you do something to take advantage of her meticulous nature. You'd expect her to have little to no backup while she prepares for the ritual and makes her breakthrough. And with how things turned out, our predictions are correct. If you were a little more cautious and held off on making your move tonight, perhaps things might have been different. However, I did consider the possibility of taking you out early. But before you made your move, you exposed yourself by using your spells to scout. For someone like you to lay all your cards on the table at once, it can only mean one thing. You're absolutely sure of your victory. With someone backing you up, that made me reconsider. The sinister figure laughed maniacally. Ha, ah ha, ye bastard. You claim I'm still the same as ever, but aren't you the same? 100 years ago, you intercepted my moves and drove me into a corner. Yet, I managed to break out and escape. So you want to know who's backing me up? You want to take us all out in one fell swoop? Very well. Suddenly, vines erupted from the skull, and the sinister figure shouted, Are you still watching? If anything happens to me, then you know the deal is off. He cried out, Save me, King of Assassins. Luan Yaner gasped, her eyes widening in shock as she looked into the distance. A figure was rushing toward Yishen with a sword. She muttered in disbelief, How could this be? Second junior sister? Yishen, equally shocked, stared at the attacker. It was none other than the Wuji Sect's second disciple under him, the bloodthirsty Shura. Shuro? Yishen called out. Is that really you? What happened to you? Shuro glanced at Yishen with a serious expression before suddenly leaping away, remaining silent. The bloodthirsty bastard chuckled darkly. Hee. When you were making all those threats, did you expect something like this to happen? Just you wait. There's more to come. Before he could finish, Yishen used his power to shut his mouth, causing the villain to explode from the pressure. Another word, and your jaw is next, Yishen warned. Suddenly, the bloodthirsty Shura launched another attack at Yishen. Don't do this, junior sister, Luan Yaner pleaded. However, Shuro ignored her and redirected her attack toward Luan Yaner. As Luan tried to block, Shuro hissed, Why are you lying to yourself? Yishen, moving with lightning speed, appeared behind Shuro, shocking her. She attempted to defend, but Yishen's strike caused her to explode. Moments later, she managed to block another of Yishen's attacks. He, filled with anger, shouted, Under the same school, we are like family. No matter the reason, you shouldn't act against your senior sister, Shuro. Shuro's voice was cold. You're very similar. Yishen slapped her away, but she got up again, resolute. I'll test my blade. She charged at Yishen once more. Master, the two of you, please stop, Luan Yaner cried. You're the one lying to yourself. Take a look, that's Master himself. Why are you doubting us? Yishen, confused, glanced behind him. Shuro, seeing an opportunity, lunged toward Luan Yaner, reaching for her. Senior sister, I won't bother. Give it to me, and I won't bother anymore. Yishen, furious, struck her with a bolt of lightning, cutting her in two. Even in pain, Shuro muttered to herself, He's still going. Yishen sighed. Shuro, the only reason you've been able to avoid my attacks is because of that shifting mirror, the one I gave you long ago. So, I ask you, are you truly turning your sword against your own sect? As he held Luan Yaner close, his expression grew more serious. Shuro's eyes widened in shock. You're not master. Yishen shook his head. Is that so? Then we're back to square one. With a tap on Shiruo's shoulder, she realized, stunned, that Yishen could still move even faster than she imagined. Her thoughts raced, he can still go faster. Suddenly she exploded again, her body struggling to maintain form. Junior sister, Luan Yanner whispered, sadness filling her eyes. Shiruo, barely holding on, cried out, Senior sister, why are you stopping me from leaving? Luan Yanner replied, Master is still alive. He merely went into seclusion. Don't believe the rumors. Lies, Shiruo spat, her voice filled with pain. I saw his corpse with my own eyes. You won't fool me. She attacked Luan Yanner again, and Luan barely managed to block. It's impossible. I was the one who saw to it. You were tricked. If you leave now and go after them, you'll fall right into their trap, Luan pleaded. The heavenly conquering honored one. Shiruo muttered, eyes burning with fury. I bet you're terrified after hearing the name of the culprit. But not me. I'm not afraid. I'll avenge Master myself. Yishen attempted to strike her, but to his shock, Luan Yanner intervened, blocking his attack. Yanner, Yishen shouted, shocked. Please. Luan Yanner begged, her voice trembling. Let's listen to what she has to say. Suddenly, strange marks began to appear on Luan Yanner's body. Yanner! Yishen cried out, fear gripping him. Out of nowhere, the bloodthirsty bastard reappeared, a wicked grin plastered on his face. I did it! Now she's mine. The scoundrel who thrived in the chaos had finally seized his opportunity. Bai Xiaohei called out, Sister, you haven't fully recovered from your injuries. Let me do the scouting. Bai Qing'er interrupted. No, you won't. I've been too lax with you in the past, and now you've forgotten the teachings of our great ancestor. Tell me, after that man saved me, did you inform him of our mission? Bai Xiaohei responded, I wouldn't dare. Our task was to find the owner of the heavenly book and entrust them with the prized possession. Otherwise, our 100-flower group will face destruction. If my tongue slips, then let me be struck by lightning and die a painful death. But sister, what does this have to do with you rushing to our senior? Bai Qing'er silently listened when suddenly Bai Xiaohei cried out in pain. Ugh! Bai Qing'er's eyes widened. Little too? She quickly caught her as Bai Xiaohei fell. Bai Xiaohei gasped. It hurts? It hurts so much. It feels like there are bugs crawling all over and biting me. As the mark crawled across her chest and body, Bai Qing'er exclaimed, The blood river seal has taken effect. But how did you? In the distance, another voice shouted, It hurts. Ma, Dad, help me. In the distance, another voice shouted, Bai Qing'er winced, feeling a sting in her fingers, and muttered to herself, So, it begins. The blood river seal began to assemble. Luan Yanner screamed in agony as the seal intensified. Yishen suddenly charged toward the bloodthirsty enemy, but the bloodthirsty Shura intercepted him, resulting in a massive blast that struck the bloodthirsty enemy. The bloodthirsty Shura stated, That is not the order of things. However, as she was about to strike, the bloodthirsty enemy hit her, sending her flying. The bloodthirsty enemy sneered, You're late, Shuru. The blood river seal has gathered Yanner's spiritual energy for me, and now I've broken through the 3 tribulations of the life and death realm. As long as the seal remains, I am invincible. Order? Could it be that you're trying to retrieve the article of Yin, the seal of heaven, before I get my hands on Yanner? Look around you. Does it look like we are on equal terms? No. In fact, you're next. Suddenly, Yishen kicked him in the face. The bloodthirsty enemy grunted, You bastard. That's rough. But now nothing can kill me. You failed 100 years ago, and now you'll repeat that failure. Even if you're in the life and death realm, surely you haven't reached the same heights as I have. What can you hope to achieve? As Luan Yanner continued to scream in pain, the bloodthirsty enemy declared, No, even then there's nothing you can do. And now, the blood river seal is no longer just a restricting formation, but a spirit instrument sealing art. There are no holy articles greater than this spirit instrument right here. Ahahaha. Become a part of my sustenance. With this in hand, forget the Kangyun continent. I might just ascend like this. I've won this time. Yishen suddenly replied, I was wondering where you're getting this unwarranted courage from. So you've been messing with spirit instruments. The bloodthirsty enemy's eyes widened in shock. My holy article-fueled blood river seal is avoiding him? Yishen continued. In that case, he snapped his fingers and declared, I'd be your father. The bloodthirsty enemy stuttered, What? The spirit instrument ancestor's heavenly book recognized you? Impossible. Not even I can move. Suddenly, bandages enveloped him, sealing his movements. Yishen remarked, I wasn't asking you. Surely something I've made would recognize its creator, no? That was addressed to the thing you're holding, traitorous child. As Yishen burned the skill, the bloodthirsty enemy struggled in his bindings. Ugh. A woman exclaimed, I'm fine, I'm all right. Those markings disappeared. The man confirmed, I'm not hurting anymore. We need some help here. As the bloodthirsty Shura felt relief with the blood river seal disappearing, Luan Yaner also stopped screaming. She collapsed but felt relief as Yishen caught her. The bloodthirsty enemy, still bound, muttered in disbelief. With just a word, he negated the holy article's divinity? All the prayers I've offered to it. Where? Why? Why haven't I heard a single thing about you being the spirit instrument ancestor? Then my teachings. They were all. Yishen said coldly, Are you falling in line now, Blood River? We've got time to spare. I have no offers for you. We can strip you flesh from bone, or we can boil you alive. He leaned in closer. Now choose. Suddenly, Yishen made him explode. The bloodthirsty enemy's voice echoed faintly, Sigh, you never change. Even the slightest provocation, you'd blow up like that. Turning his attention, Yishen addressed Shuru. And you, Shuru, with your senior sister in danger, you chose to turn your blade on our enemy, and for that, I'll tolerate you. 3 days. Wipe yourself clean and return to the sect. I'll give you a chance to explain yourself. He vanished into thin air, while the bloodthirsty Shura pulled up her hood and disappeared. In the distance, Bai Xiaohei and Bai Qinger arrived. Bai Qinger's eyes lit up as she murmured, We found it! At night, when the full moon is always present, Shuruo fell to the ground and groaned, Ugh! A lady nearby said, Oh dear, that wasn't easy. After an encounter combined with blessings from the spirit instrument and the enhanced blood river seal. And you still have the strength to crawl this far. As expected of the king of assassins, I almost didn't catch up to you. How annoying. Shuruo replied to her, I brought it back. The skull. Now can we talk? The lady took the skull and said, Oh, so this is the skull of the venerable Yishen of the Wuji sect? Oh dear, how long did it take? And you just forgot your master's final words like that? I cannot accept my defeat at the hands of the heavenly conquering honored one. If the stars align, seek vengeance for me. You were the one he treasured most, so he left this task to you. But you? You're trusting that look-alike skin puppet who raised his fist at you? How laughable. Obviously that's a fake made by Luan Yaner. Who would have thought the king of assassins is as self-deceiving as that soft-hearted Empress herself? Shuruo shouted, I would never. An electrifying energy hit her as the lady pointed her fan at Shuruo's temple. Always so troublesome. But I suppose it only works when your psyche is weakened like this. That encounter left you completely drained, didn't it? Don't worry, you won't feel a thing now. You'll feel so good that you won't be able to remember anything. The cursed seals will rid you of all your unpleasant memories. The lady continued, That blood river ancestor was useless till the very end, but he managed to bring back results. Too bad I don't have time to confirm it for myself in a different scene at the Empress's chamber. A guard exclaimed, Her Majesty is still unconscious. Hurry and bring in the doctors. Bai Qinger looked out her window, placing 2 fingers between her chests. The situation turned out to be worse than I thought, she muttered. She took out something hidden there and said, The great ancestor entrusted us to deliver this to the owner of the heavenly book, but it doesn't seem like that will happen anytime soon. Not to mention, Xiao Tu is. Suddenly, Bai Qinger heard someone say, Supreme One? Yishen walked towards the guards and said to them, Go rest up. One of the guards hesitated, but Yishen looked at them seriously, and they panicked before bowing down to Yishen. A few moments later, Yishen entered the room of Luan Yaner and said, Luoluo. Luoluo approached him. I got it. Your guess was right, master. It's poison. As expected, even with the curse seals removed, Yaner is still unconscious. I suspected as much when I carried her back. But it's been many years since this poison was developed, and I'm not aware of how far they've progressed. Any ideas, Luoluo? Yishen asked. It's something long lost in the books, Luoluo replied. The killing seal poison? Yishen said, speaking to himself. The so-called killing seal is a seal implanted on a cultivator's body, a curse that acts as a limiter for their spiritual energy. It will continue to weaken its target as they slowly suffer from various injuries and perish, their body unable to handle their power. He continued. Planting the blood river seal was just a cover to implant the killing seal instead. Huh? From the looks of it, Blood River was just another pawn in a grand scheme. And as for Shuro, Luo, indignant, said, like a bird stalking the praying mantis, how dare they? I don't believe the second senior sister would betray our school. Yishin responded, all will be revealed in 3 days. What's important now is to remove your senior sister's poison. Luo sighed, if only it was a simple toxin in her body, but this one affects her very vessel. Master, do you have any ideas? We cannot afford to be careless. I would have used the reversal of 5 paths to forcefully strip it off, but with the Blood River seal draining Luan Yanner's spiritual energy. Stripping it down might even hurt her by accident. I cannot gamble on that alone. Suddenly, Luo looked at Yishin as he started undressing, shocked by what she saw. She quickly tried to close both eyes but peeked through one and stammered, Hey, are you saying you're going to? Yishin suddenly grabbed Luan Yanner from behind, and Luo continued. Dual cultivation? Luan Yanner felt something behind her and groaned, ugh. Yishin gently held her smooth cheeks and tried to open Luan Yanner's mouth. She moaned softly, her breath heavy, and began to salivate. Yishin explained, I can force a mutation on the killing seal within Yanner's body and transfer the seal onto myself. Suddenly, Bai Chinger opened the window, exclaiming, You mustn't. Startled, Yishin responded, Eh? You? The Flower Sisters? Shouldn't you be resting in the guest rooms? Bai Chinger climbed through the window and replied, We can save that for later. If you use cultivation to remove the poison from the Empress, there could be consequences. What do you mean? Yishin asked. Bai Chinger explained, We, the 100 Flowers, specialize in all manners of cursed seals. I once saved a cultivator suffering from the killing seal under the Great Ancestor. While this method of breaking the seal is the most effective, there's a deadly trap within. When the killing seal was implanted on its victim, part of it fused with their energy reserves. In other words, you could end up killing her by stripping her of what little energy remains. That's the danger. In this case, we must be mindful of Her Majesty's physical condition as well. Therefore, I, representing the 100 Flowers, would like to volunteer if Senior is willing to trust me. I owe a debt for saving us sisters after all. Luo whispered to Ye Shen, I know, Master, I've investigated using my techniques. She's right about the cursed seals, though I'm unsure of her motives. Ye Shen whispered back, I'm aware. Suddenly, Luan Yanner groaned in pain. Ugh! Ye Shen grew more concerned as he watched her suffer. Bai Chinger moved closer to Luan Yanner, urging, Time is of the essence, allow me. She reached for Luan Yanner's smooth, soft thighs, pressing her hands gently. But suddenly, Bai Chinger hesitated. Wait, something's wrong, she muttered. Her voice trembled. She's absorbing my energy? Luan Yanner gripped Bai Chinger's wrist tightly, her expression tense and powerful. Bai Chinger felt a jolt of electricity and muttered to herself, Ugh, this shouldn't be happening. The killing seal is supposed to only absorb the victim's cultivation, and I'm just here to stabilize. So why am I the one being drained now? Could it be? Luan Yanner looked at Bai Chinger and whispered, I want. Bai Chinger trembled as the electricity coursed through her body, her breath growing unsteady as she drooled slightly. Luan Yanner continued, You! Suddenly, a powerful force threw Luan Yanner and Bai Chinger apart. Ye Shen intervened, saying, I understand your intentions, but Yanner's constitution is special. You might end up getting hurt instead. Bai Chinger gasped. Ah, could it be her spiritual root counters the nature of the killing seal? Ye Shen gently picked up Luan Yanner and explained, indeed. Yanner's roots are of the fire affinity, while the killing seal is wood. Their clashing natures cause them to absorb the surrounding energy indiscriminately. He added, I appreciate your intention to help my dearest disciple, but you underestimated the danger it poses. I had planned to use my body to channel her energy, removing the killing seal while supplying her with what she needs through the spiritual instrument. But you jumped in first. Bai Chinger thought to herself in shock. Spiritual instrument. He's referring to that priceless heavenly book as a mere spiritual instrument. Wouldn't the heavenly book be offended by that? She continued her thoughts. What a fool I was. I wanted to offer my help so it would seem more natural when I finally returned the heavenly book. But in my haste, I forgot. He is the one under its protection. Does he even need me? I'm sure he can see through me. If he does, and starts getting suspicious. Yishen sighed and then remarked, "But then again." He turned to Bai Chinger and said, "You." Bai Chinger stiffened and responded, "Yes, anything you order." Yishen said, "Even with the spiritual instrument nurturing her core, the effects are only surface level. I can see that your cursed seal recovery technique is quite effective, and Yaner will soon be full of energy. So, will you teach me this cursed seal recovery technique of yours, with my powers keeping the cursed seal at bay and the spiritual instrument supplementing her? It should serve as another layer of defense against the killing seal." He added with a gentle tone, "Little you, if you may." As Yishen set Luan Yaner down, Bai Chinger stammered, Yes. But the cursed seal recovery technique is a signature method passed down within the 100 Flower group. It would take at least 10 days to master." Yishen replied, "No need for that, just tell me now and I'll follow." Bai Chinger was shocked. She turned away, and Yishen, noticing her hesitation, asked, "What's wrong?" Bai Chinger shook her head. It's nothing," she murmured to herself. "Empty my mind, empty my mind." Blushing, she said, "For Her Majesty, expose her sea of energy from her core. That's the hardest part of the process, hidden within the 5 paths in the sea of energy." "If you make a mistake," Yishen interrupted by demonstrating, "like this." Bai Chinger gasped in disbelief. "Hey! Aren't there supposed to be only 8 anchor points in a person's core?" And he managed to light them all up at once. Yishen elaborated by connecting the energy anchors into a diagram. "You can organize the cursed seal's effects and modify it. The more anchors you find, the more detailed the diagram becomes, and the more effective it'll be. But even our great ancestor could only discover 9 anchors, and lighting them up would take at least 3 days, Bai Chinger thought, panic flashing in her eyes. "But what sort of monster is he?" Yishen called out, "You! I'll leave the next part to you." "Right," she responded, but internally her thoughts raced. Back on topic, a curse seal recovery attempt with 10 anchors. What will happen? I want to see. I want to see. Her gaze wandered to Yishen's muscular form, captivated by the mystery of his power. As Luan Yaner began to levitate, she let out a scream, her expression mixing pain with pleasure. Bai Chinger bit her pinky, a bead of sweat forming on her brow. She whispered to herself, "I want to see what sort of effect it'll have on me." A few moments later, the door opened and Yishen emerged. Yishen said, "You." Bai Chinger asked, "Is it going well?" Yishen nodded. Thanks to you, Yaner is no longer in danger." Bai Chinger shook her head slightly. "You're exaggerating. From what I saw earlier, I'm sure Her Majesty would have been fine even without me." "I bet you knew I was troubled and decided to help me save face," Yishen replied calmly. "To walk in this world, a gain for others is a gain for oneself. If I recognize it as a debt to be repaid, there's no need to overthink it. In other words, as long as it's within my powers, I'll naturally help." Bai Chinger sighed. "There's no hiding anything from you. But it's not the right time yet. Please give us time. Once my sister wakes up, we'll explain everything properly." Yishen considered her words, then said, "Is that so? In the meantime, I'd like to ask for your help again." Bai Chinger replied, "Do tell." Yishen asked, "How many users of this killing seal are there?" Bai Chinger explained. "The killing seal is a cursed seal that has existed since ancient times, but it's now a forbidden technique. Perhaps many cultivators back then sought shortcuts, and those victims were the ones our great ancestors worked on. But I can't imagine any of those victims targeting Her Majesty." Yishen thought to himself, "But among these cultivators, how did they manage to obtain such a forbidden technique?" Bai Chinger continued, "However, the great ancestor once told us that the killing seal didn't originally start as a tool for harm. But 100 years ago, someone began modifying it and spreading the method. She only told me once, though." Yishen's eyes narrowed. "She knew who it was." Bai Chinger hesitated, then replied, Yeah." She added to herself, "The way he addresses her, were they close?" Suddenly, Luan Yaner let out a soft moan, her voice weak but audible. Yishen rushed to her side, asking, "Yaner, you're awake." Luan Yaner's voice trembled as she asked, "Master, how did it go?" "My junior sister, my people," Yishen gently reassured her. "Everything's fine, I've handled it all. Just take care of yourself for now. As for your junior sister, I have my plans." Luan Yaner's eyes widened with shock, and tears welled up as she confessed, "Forgive me, Master. I've been lying to you." Luan Yaner said, "I promised you I would never lie to you again, but I failed to uphold that." Yishen gently wiped away her tears. He asked, "Is this about Shu Luo?" Luan Yaner nodded. "Yes. Truth be told, I think I know why my junior sister is doing this. Once you entered seclusion and we left the mountain, we sneaked back to where our sect was. At Master's favorite meditation spot, we found a mysterious note. It claimed that you weren't in seclusion but had been killed by the Heavenly Conquering One, leaving no trace of your body behind. I tried my best to explain myself, but I couldn't completely remove their doubts. She believed you were killed and decided to seek vengeance in your name. I tried to stop her, and we battled, but I couldn't stop her." Yishen murmured to himself, "The Heavenly Conquering One. 100 years ago, he was a peak expert of the life and death realm in the 7th Tribulation. Back then, Shu Luo wasn't even in the sculpting divinity realm, was she? She's courting death if she really intends to go through with this." Yishen then asked Luan Yaner, "What happened next?" Luan Yaner continued, "Even after the split, I rallied the disciples who still believed in you and formed the Wuji sect as its empress. After she left the mountains, she didn't immediately seek vengeance. Instead, she found an assassin group and roamed the continent. Luolua headed south, investigating the truth behind the attacks on our sect. But 15 years ago, she approached me and said she had found a way to kill the Heavenly Conquering One. She said she needed the Heavensward seal as a medium. I tried to dissuade her, but it led to a fight. Neither of us came out unscathed. My junior sister returned time and again to steal the seal, but with each failure, she'd erase her traces and disappear. Until today, I never expected her to team up with that blood-rival old bastard and return with the title of the King of Assassins." Yishen thought to himself, "That's unusual. The Heavenly Conquering One is powerful, but it takes more than just a tool to defeat him. And since Yaner said she wasn't out for blood immediately, her activities over the past 10 years are worth investigating. The King of Assassins, huh? Shu Luo, you were just a scaredy cat back then." As Yishen reminisced, he remembered Shu Luo as a child, her voice trembling as she said, "Ugh. Master, it's dark, it's scary." Suddenly, Yishen appeared and asked, "What are you doing here at the back of the mountain all by yourself?" "Your senior sister is worried sick," Shu Luo exclaimed. "Master, if I don't do this test of courage with them, they won't play with me anymore." Yishen picked her up gently and said, "Here, Master will lend you one of my secret treasures. Here's the event horizon mirror. Rub it when you're in danger, and you'll be taken somewhere safe." Shu Luo asked softly, "Master, do you get scared too?" Yishen replied, "Of course. Everyone does." Shu Luo said, "I am impossible. Every time we get attacked, you're the first one to respond and you never lose." Yishen smiled and said, "That's because I'm afraid." Shu Luo was shocked. Yishen said, "I'm afraid that if I lost, there'd be no one left to protect you all. Don't you want to be with everyone as well? Fear can bring you courage when it's overcome. Accept it, and you'll never be afraid of any nasty cultivators from this point onward." Then, just for today, Shu Luo whispered, "Can I not be brave?" Yishen reassured her, "Your master is right here. Everything's fine." In the present, Luan Yaner asked, "Master, what's wrong?" Yishen replied, "It's nothing to worry about. Besides, I already gave her an ultimatum to return in 3 days to explain things to us." Luan Yaner gasped, "You've already arranged that? 3 days, just a bit more time." "I've made preparations too. This time she'll stay and talk. And with the death of the blood-rival ancestor, the power his sect once held will soon dissipate," Luan Yaner said as she tried to stand, but her legs gave way. Yishen caught her and said, "Laner, you can't even stand still. You should take care of your body." Luan Yaner looked up at him. "Master." Yishen said, "I used dual cultivation to clear the killing seal from your body, but your core is still damaged. You need to rest to heal. You can't rush it." Suddenly, Luan Yaner became alert, her expression shifting. She stammered, Dual cultivation?" "Yishen," she abruptly slapped Yishen's hands away, blushing furiously as tears welled in her eyes. Trembling with frustration, she cried out, "Why did you have to do this while I was unconscious? Couldn't you wait until I was awake? Stupid master!" She slapped him repeatedly, her emotions overwhelming her. Yishen winced. "Ouch! Are you telling me to wait when lives are at stake?" Luan Yaner panted, exhausted. Huff, huff. Yishen looked at her and said, "Laner." Luan Yaner gathered herself and asked, "Speaking of which, how was I hit with the killing seal?" It's not his style, and our junior sister isn't skilled with curses either. She then called out, "Chun." General Xia Chun of the T clan stepped forward and said, "I'm here." Per your orders, I've been keeping watch at the secret passage. As you expected, there was an attempt to infiltrate. After a brief struggle, that person left. It's an expert on cursed seals, she reported, glancing at her arms. Luan Yanner sighed. I see. At least everything's fine. Hold your position. I'll send someone to retrieve you. Turning back to Yishen, she added, Master, there's someone working with our junior sister. That killing seal might be that person's doing. With that in mind, I don't think we'll be seeing her in 3 days. Yishen shook his head. No, she'll be here tomorrow. I just fought her, and I can tell her goal has been the Heavensward seal from the very beginning. She retreated not because of me, but because she was too injured. With the chaotic situation and you out of commission, it was the best chance for Zhu Luo. Luan Yanner worried, but if our junior sister truly wants to mend her relationship with us, the mastermind behind the scenes won't let her do as she wishes. Yishen held his fingers thoughtfully, looking at Luan Yanner, and said, Tomorrow's the day. Meanwhile, little Yantian glanced at a box and whispered, The time. She looked up at her master and said, Is right, as her master gazed back at her. Little Yantian's master suddenly awakened, groaning, Where am to? Immediately, little Yantian cried out, Master, Master, and smothered Ah Suan in an embrace, her large chest pressing against Ah Suan's face. Ah Suan's nose started to bleed from the impact. Stunned, she mumbled, Chow. Chower? Little Yantian, still crying, replied, Master, you're finally awake. Our Grandmaster was right all along. Confused, Ah Suan opened her eyes and murmured, Grandmaster, then these must be. She sat up quickly. Chower, my good disciple, you met the Grandmaster? Where is he? Just then a familiar voice spoke. Ah Suan, long time no see. It was Yishen. Nearby, Luan Yanner gasped in shock at the sight of Ah Suan. Yishen continued, On a day like today, do you find it to your liking? Ah Suan's eyes brimmed with tears, and with a smile she replied, This reunion today, didn't you foresee it long ago? Why ask now if I like it or not? Yishen smiled gently. The art of divination only reveals outcomes. I foresaw our reunion as master and disciple, but not the struggles that came before. Ah Suan, thank you for enduring so much. Luan Yanner stepped forward. Junior sister, how are you feeling? If you need anything, please speak up. Senior sister will take care of it for you. Ah Suan nodded. All right, I do have one wish. But first, she turned to Yishen. Master, is there something you still need my help with? Yishen looked at her seriously. Nothing escapes your perception. Outside, a figure stood on the rooftop. It was the bloodthirsty Shirul, holding the Event Horizon mirror that Yishen had given her. Moments later, she entered the room. Luan Yanner's expression darkened. Second junior sister, have you not let go of these dangerous thoughts? We come from the same sect. Must we bring such bloodshed upon each other? If Master saw us harming each other, wouldn't it break his heart? The bloodthirsty Shirul looked back, her gaze cold. She slashed the air beside Luan Yanner. Why conceal your aura like this, senior sister? Why pretend to be so fragile and naive? Luan Yanner's face hardened. Second junior sister, enough! She summoned her power, binding Shirul in restraints. The treasure left by Master, the Hundun treasure mirror, will never fall into your hands unless I die. Today, we settle this. Here and now. Shirul broke free from the restraints and pointed her blade at Luan Yanner's neck. It's useless, senior sister. With my skill in shifting and reflection, you'll never catch me. As for the Hundun treasure mirror, I don't need you to give it to me. I already know where it is. In a flash, her figure dispersed in smoke, revealing a pillow in her place. She summoned the pillow towards her with an open palm, but something hidden inside caught her eye. Luan Yanner called out, Second junior sister, don't be deceived by others' lies. Master truly isn't dead. A small object emerged from the pillow, a cube. Trust me, just this once. Luan Yanner pleaded. The bloodthirsty Shirul caught the cube. Luan Yanner said, Isn't that better? Suddenly, the bloodthirsty Shirul was shocked and said to herself, her aura, It's changed. Luan Yanner said, I didn't know, second junior sister. You were a thief on the rafters too? As she leaps away, the bloodthirsty Shirul, shocked, looks at Luan Yanner and sweats. Seeing her chance, Shirul attacked, but Luan Yanner's calm voice interrupted. No matter how well you polish a mirror, it's useless. Luan Yanner suddenly changed to Yishen, and he said, Run as you may, you're still bound to hit a wall. The bloodthirsty Shirul said, Wah. What? How could a puppet mimic senior sisters so perfectly? Even her cultivation realm is identical. Suddenly she was shocked, as Yishen attacks and made a huge explosion. The bloodthirsty Shuruo stopped and Yishen tells her what's wrong. Why do you look so frightened and pitiful? Didn't I teach you to observe 1 to see 10 in battle? In Suan's Four Corners domain, all your escape routes are accounted for. Once you touch the treasure mirror, you're trapped, bound in divination itself. This is a basic way to capture you. You're too wary, aren't you? Adopting the guise of your senior sister to put up a futile resistance, it seems you really fell for this trick. The bloodthirsty Shuruo confused said Divine Son, and she said to herself, isn't she already? Yishen said you rely far too much on shift and reflection. Because you're too weak, you always think of escaping. Bloodthirsty assassin, you're still the most fearful one. The bloodthirsty Shuruo gets angry and said, silence, you imposter. Just an imposter. You're not worthy to speak his words. And the curse went in flames from her face and jumps for an attack towards Yishen. Yishen, unfazed, said finally, you've come out, seal of incantation. Yishen said, excellent, caught you. As the bloodthirsty Shura thought to herself, well, what's going on? It's clearly just a puppet, so why in front of him am I feeling this for the first time? Suddenly, Yishen's presence grew stronger. He grabbed the bloodthirsty Shura's face and said, disciple, don't move now. She felt the power of Yishen and cried out in pain, ah. In a different scene, the sexy lady enemy muttered, this compass is so hard to figure out. Just to find out where the Empress hid the Huntian mirror, I had to sacrifice 10 lives. A buzzing sound echoed. Even if Yishen is capable, it will still take him at least a day to break the restriction I placed on the Empress. During that time, Shura should be able to get the mirror. The pocket buzzed again. It buzzed once more. This aura. It's the frenzy mark I placed on Shura. She activated it? Could it be? Her fan suddenly sparked. She felt the electricity and cried out in pain. Is it Yishen? No, how could this be? He's reversing the spiritual energy back through my seal, counteracting it. No, wait, he's not trying to counteract me. He's reversing the energy flow to locate my position. She suddenly bit her thumb, writing something in her blood on the wall. I'm not some easy woman to deal with. And then she exploded. That night, Luanyana was on the balcony alone. Suddenly, Suan called her. Senior sister, it's barely been a moment since Master left and you're already thinking? Luanyana snapped. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm just worried. Suan continued. Little Yantian, go fetch something to eat. As little Yantian ran off, Suan said to Luanyana, Yes, you're worried Shura might act too recklessly and end up angering Master with consequences we can't imagine, right? Do you know why Master didn't let you go along? Luanyana replied, mostly because. He's afraid I'd plead for her. Suan corrected her. Wrong. Master doesn't want you to carry karmic burdens anymore. It said that everyone has their own destiny. Back then, Shura's senior sister made her choice for her own reasons. Like a fledgling bird leaving the nest, you can't watch over her forever. I know you've always wanted to share Master's burdens. You considered. But maybe Master doesn't need your help after all? Luanyana remained silent. Suddenly, Yishen arrived and Suan said, Oh, Master, are you done? Yishen carried the bloodthirsty Shura on his back. After a moment, Luanyana said, Second junior sister is unharmed. Master, you still showed her mercy. Yishen replied, When I set a 3-day pact with her, I'd already prepared for Ashuan to arrange a formation to trap her. Although the timing was a bit early, the result is favorable. After finding a third-party curse mark on Yenner, I predicted they would place one on Shura too. I wanted to use the reverse flow of spiritual energy to locate their position and teleport directly to them, but the person severed the connection. A thunderstrike cut off the trail. Luanyana said, A lizard severing its tail. Master, spiritual energy doesn't disappear so easily. I could lead our forces to the breakpoint and dig them out. Yishen warned, Do not pursue cornered enemies. If he dared to invoke heavenly thunder, he must have something to rely on. Were I him, I would create an even more horrific scene to lure enemies deeper into my territory. At this moment, whether engaging the vanguard or flanking from behind, both would serve his calculations. Luanyana replied, That's true, but are we just going to let him go? Yishen said, Of course not. When I backflowed spiritual energy through his seal, I left a beacon behind. We'll catch him off guard when he lowers his guard. Right now, the priority is securing our position. Yanar, take time to recuperate. When Shura awakens, I'll speak with her. Luan Yaner nodded. Let's hope second sister won't be so stubborn this time, Yishin muttered to himself. After all this time, our reunion ends up being a chaotic mess. He then addressed Luan Yaner. Yaner. Suddenly, Swan jumped in between them. Hey, Swan cheered. But anyway, second senior sister has finally returned. That's worth celebrating with 3 days and 3 nights of drinking. Yishen and Luan Yaner shouted, No way, you're too weak to drink. They exchanged a silent look. Swan sighed. Fine, no drinking then. She raised a finger and said, So senior sister, didn't you say earlier that you'd fulfill any wish I had? I really do have one wish. Yishen and Luan Yaner were confused, saying to Asuan, Wish. Yishen, not amused, replied, Besides not drinking, Asuan, you're also not allowed to disturb a phoenix's nest, bet on eggs, and absolutely no transforming into Chun-Li pictures. Yishen, confused and shocked, asked, Huh? Asuan answered, That was all in the past. I don't do those things anymore. Yishen asked, You no longer like them? Asuan replied, Isn't that good? Why are you making a face like you regret missing out on my rebellious phase? Yishen responded, So, what do you like now? Master will jot it down right away. Asuan slapped Yishen's arm and said, I told you, stop treating me like a kid. Luan Yaner giggled as she watched Yishen and Asuan talking. Suddenly, she burst into laughter and said seriously, Master is such a blockhead. Whatever you say, he'll do just the opposite. After all these years, does junior sister still not remember? Yishen, confused, asked, Me? Asuan nodded and said, Oh, right. She then bumped Luan Yaner and added, Elder sister is right. When dealing with master, you have to go straight to the point. Luan Yaner whispered to Asuan, What do you mean? Asuan grinned and said, I'll say it plainly then. I want to play a game with master and elder sister. Hide and seek. Yishen and Luan Yaner were shocked and confused, both exclaiming, Huh? Yishen said, After all that talk about being grown up, here you are with a childish wish. Asuan walked away saying, This is all your fault. When I was little, you kept saying I could divine locations, so you never let me be the seeker. It's my childhood regret. I'll give you the time of 1 incense stick, if I catch you. Luan Yaner said, Why are you using a spell to leave? Can your body handle it? Asuan. Suddenly, Asuan disappeared. Yishen turned to Luan Yaner and said, Let her be. Yaner, you're the one who should watch your health. Is your body holding up? Have some rest if you're tired. I'll play along with her for a bit. Come, I'll help you back to your room. Luan Yaner suddenly moved away and avoided him. Yishen was confused. Luan Yaner said, Since it's a wish, how can I, as her senior sister, ruin the fun? Yishen said, But, Luan Yaner insisted, It's fine. Master, you should go hide too. A few moments later, outside, Yishen sat on top of a roof beam silently. He sighed, smiling one moment, upset the next. Why the sudden mood swing? Could it be she's mad at me for indulging Asuan's antics? Luoyan suddenly appeared and said, Master, you've been here for half an incense stick's time. Aren't you going to get caught easily like this? I heard her clearly. If Asuan catches you, there'll be a penalty. Yishen waved her away and said, Winning or losing doesn't matter. What matters is making Asuan happy. Luoyan said, Oh, if you've decided to lose, then why the gloomy face? Luoyan pointed into the distance and said, Senior sister. Yishen looked in the direction and was shocked. However, as he focused on the rock Luoyan pointed at, he saw nothing. It was empty. Yishen silently frowned, not amused. Without warning, he placed Luoyan back into the heavenly scroll. She protested, Hey, if you've got questions, why don't you ask senior sister directly? Why take it out on me? Curl hard. Senior sister likes you so much she'll definitely tell you everything. Yishen hesitated, then muttered, Likes. It's a disciple's fondness for her master, right? But she's avoiding me. She must dislike me. Luoyan, confused, asked, Huh? She just called me a blockhead. That's calling me stupid, isn't it? Before Luoyan could respond, she suddenly perked up and pointed again. Whoa, master, senior sister really is here. If you keep chatting with me, you'll be found out. Yishen didn't respond immediately, lost in thought. Yana says she likes me, but could it be she actually dislikes me? Frustrated, Luoyan slapped Yishen hard on the back, causing him to stumble. I don't care anymore. Just ask her directly and leave me out of it. Yishen, still regaining his balance, suddenly called out, Yana? Why are you here? You, Luan Yaner, startled, said, master? Yishen, caught off guard, stumbled and collided with her, causing a loud thud. He accidentally pinned her to the ground. Oh no, Yishen thought, panicking. Did I knock her over? She just recovered. Did I injure her again? Not good. I need to quickly help her up and check. Before he could act, he whispered, Yanner, do you dislike me? Luan Yanner was shocked. Her face flushed as she looked at Yishen on top of her. Yishen's mind raced. Wait, no, why did I just say that? He stammered, this, first. But Luan Yanner suddenly grabbed him, pulling him close. Yishen froze as her soft, warm body pressed against his. She whispered seductively into his ear, her breath brushing against his skin. Yishen's thoughts scattered in disarray when, time's up. Ah, Xuan's voice broke the moment. She wandered nearby, calling out, Where should I start looking? Oh, senior sister's study? Or maybe the sleeping quarters? Yishen and Luan Yanner stayed hidden behind the rock, her body still pressed against his. After a few tense moments, Yishen finally said, She's gone. Suddenly, Luan Yanner grabbed Yishen's face and hugged him tightly. Whispering into his ear with a trembling, seductive tone, she confessed, I don't dislike you. I was afraid you didn't want me, so I pushed you away. Not just as master and disciple. I like you. I like you, Yishen. I don't want us to just be master and disciple. Yishen looked at her, his expression softening as memories flooded his mind. Luan Yanner's words from long ago. 100 years. I've been waiting for you. The images came fast, her blushing in a steam bath, her shocked expression while working, her joyful laughter. Snapping back to reality, Yishen saw Luan Yanner blushing deeply. Without thinking, he leaned in and kissed her passionately. Their breaths mingled as they gasped for air. Yishen finally spoke, his voice filled with determination. Fine, we won't be master and disciple. Let's be something else. Thank you so much for watching. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to help me grow my channel. Your support means the world to me. Don't forget to leave a comment below. I love hearing from you. Let's keep the conversation going and get those analytics buzzing. Until next time, take care.